Sister Andrea Brunet is in a place to be. How you doing, Senate?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
So you have something to show us today?
Yes, I went on to the product line and I bought three shirts and I just wanted to show you all what I got.
Oh, let's see.
Okay, so this is the first one. This is the
Ah, the Ankh shirt.
the Ankh shirt. I got it in black and gold, but I think I'm gonna go and get a blue one too.
All right.
Okay, so that's the first one.
All
And
right.
then
The Ma'at. Oh, it looks
this
good in
I don't
blue.
yeah,
All
I don't know.
right.
Yeah, this is the Maat one.
Oh, that's
I
what's
don't know if you
up.
can see.
Yeah, we see it. We
I'm
see
trying.
it.
Can you see it?
Nice bright
And
color.
yeah, I love this. I love this color. I love it. And then the piece de la resistance is my favorite
Probably the best to
one.
me tonight.
I'm the place to be tonight. Yeah,
That's what's up. Probably the
there's
best
that
to
on
be
the sleeve
tonight.
too.
Even on the sleeve.
Tonight,
All right.
even on the
Tonight.
sleeve. I had it. Yeah,
All
this
right.
is this is the lick right here. So I'll be wearing that on
Oh,
your next live. I will have this one on.
oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh, wow.
So
Well,
that's the three ones I got.
thank you very
Love
much
them.
for your support. It's appreciated. I'm glad that you like the products.
You're welcome. You're
All
welcome.
right.
And we'll see you on the next live stream.
All right. See you soon, sister.
Okay.
Okay, I hope you can see this. Civilization started with agriculture. Custom made shirt from Ma'at Forever, Shaka Indugu. Civilization started with agriculture. This is Curse of Hammurabi, Shaka Indugu, who I support. Civilization started with agriculture because
All right. Hey, brother Donnie Williams. See, you got your
Yeah,
mail.
yeah. What's up, Shock? I was gonna do just a. I know it's a serious topic, but I was gonna do a little
No, no, I appreciate that, bro. I'm
unboxing.
glad.
So
I'm glad. Yeah, yeah. Live
yeah, man.
unboxing. Bro, you don't mind if I use this excerpt, like as a clip in my
No,
intro?
no,
Oh,
it's all
thank you.
good.
Thank you. And for
Yeah,
those who wonder, I'm gonna share the link. All right, that's lovely.
yeah. I got the Heather Gray. Oh man, yeah,
Oh, you got the
I
Kemet
didn't.
shirt as well. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know it had that on the back
In the
though.
black. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's what's up,
That's
man.
lovely. Oh, thank you. I
So
appreciate that.
yeah. So just letting you know, just coming through, showing some support real quick, man. I'm about to get back into this Netflix film. So um, just wanted to say peace, man, and thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, this is my unboxing video that I'm doing for the product I bought from my Out Forever's channel. I bought the coffee mug, and here it is. Sorry there's a glare from the screen, but lots of bold, crisp, beautiful colors, inside and out, high quality ceramic. I absolutely love it. So y'all go check out his website. It's got a lot of fun, fresh designs. And cheers to you, Shaka, and all of your endeavors. Peace.
Our sister RP is in the place to be. What's up, sister?
Et Sin E. How you doing?
Et Senate E. I'm doing nefer.
Oh, great, great. Um, well, I got it today. I was thinking it was coming from France, but then I did the tracking and it was outside actually when I went to check, and here it is.
Oh, that's what's up. It's just like my hat. That's what's up. Let me,
Yeah,
let me do the solo layout. There it is, brothers and sisters. That's
yeah.
what's up.
I really like this. Yeah, so I have an after school program that I help facilitate. And I'm going to wear this because we're going to start talking about coding. So I'm going to
Okay.
use this as an introduction because this is a code. It's
Mm.
ancient code, but it's still a code. And then we're going to be able to, demonstrate. I'll be able to demonstrate to them the meanings inside each of the, glyphs and stuff. So, but yeah, I was looking online and I was like, this is actually like really good designs, So as soon as I get some more, extra money, I'm gonna get the matching hat, and I want to get a Ma'at shirt. But I really like the Kemet one.
Mic check. Good. Hotep Senuhena Senuti Tiren Isha Kanugukemeda. Hope you're doing well. The title of this live stream is Free Talk Questions and Answers. Feel free. Who's in the place to be? Andrew Bennett is in the place to be. VB is in the place to be. DI is in the place to be. You have the link to get on the panel. My goodness. Oh man, the things you hear. Things you hear. I don't need to comment on everything that's happening. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, this is for you. Take advantage, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. If you have any questions, any comments, feel free. Now's the time, Oh, Texas Bomber. It's been a minute. I hope you're doing well, sister. If you hear from her, it's been a minute, But besides that, it's the same old thing. We'll have a countdown for the H. We'll have a countdown for the end of the rape, okay? It's about a month to go. 30 days or so. And there's so much to share. So much to learn. So much to share. Trying to get back to my languages. And a lot of material. It's going to be all good. People are under a spell, man. Not just a spell, but several spells. But it is what it is, man. We're going to get some clarity through dialogue. So anybody, even if you disagree, feel free. Because you hear people every now and then talking about, hey, if it was me, I would have done this, I would have said that. Now it's your time. Now it's your shot. You can have me on the ropes. For your great wisdom and knowledge. Let us know. But they prefer the neophytes. They love the neophytes. They're going to speak game to the neophytes. They're going to kick it to the neophytes. They're going to be dead wrong. But no, they aren't going to admit it. They're going to freestyle. Yappity yap yap. Yappity yak yap. My goodness, man. Young Heru is in the place to be. Same old thing, just chilling, just wanted to speak with the people, see what's good, see what's up. I'm chilling. It's up to the people, man. Tars in the place to be as well. How you doing, brother? What's on your mind, ladies and gentlemen, man? Take advantage. I haven't been live that much lately, but I'm chilling, watching, listening, watching how people move. I really don't mind if people don't see things the same way I do, because that's how it is on this planet Earth. You never have anybody that agrees with everything that you agree with. You have a group of people that will more or less have the same views, same doctrine. Every 5 minutes. That's a bit much. I was live hours ago. But it's good to be upfront, It's good to be upfront so there's no surprise, And sometimes people, there's some stuff you think it goes without saying, but you just find out, in a surprising manner, People, if I call for a boycott, I won't be the one to cross the line. It is what it is, man, But like I say, don't expect people to tell their intimate details, But when it comes to directions and all, it's best to be clear, So yeah, I mean, there's so many people will be butt kissing the House of Conscious Mess, and I'm like, all right, I like it when they let it be known. There's a brother who was trying to deny it, and he had a very bad day because the sister, back at him. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, you capping, Funny thing is that one of the sister who called him out for capping, we found out, you know what I'm saying? Well, it is what it is, man. It is what it is, man. It's an era of madness and chaos that's going to come to an end, And then that's it, It's like Pan-Africanism as well. It has expired. That's it. It's a done deal. And those cats, celebrating Kwanzaa, an Abrahamic belief system holiday, not African, created by a guy who tortured a black woman. Those women were possibly raped. That is, at least according to Dale Jones. People make excuses for it. And then you have those people who think that they're superior based on where they are born, which is just ridiculous, But you listen to those guys, they be quoting scholars from all over, and a lot of time, those scholars come from Europe. And those guys speak only one language, and they're going to claim to be linguists. I mean, it's just madness, man. It's been a real era of chaos, which in Medunetia is called Isefet. Some pronounce it Isfet. Dang, it's been an era of chaos, I'm telling you, man. Punk Butler Reggie, Pum Pum Smash Rockwell, Pseudo Bobby Banger, talking about scientific literacy. And not long ago, he used to teach that we come from monkeys, he and his homies. I mean, he may still be teaching that, but if it was that only, if it was that alone, Maybe I thought he was no longer an atheist when he was dealing with the Amen Ra squad. It's an end of the days where standing on a square has passed for many. It's like the movie Matrix. Some people want to, yeah, that steak tastes nice. It tastes real, but I know it isn't. And it's like, I just want to be a movie star. Not too rich, a movie star, son. The agent's like, yeah. And his man is like, man, when I get the info I want, your birth is gone. Boycott is not actually a boycott now. Let's go, young Harry. I'm here chilling, man. I don't know if the Moors are going into Harlem, man. It takes a long time to get those moles. When they kick their knowledge, oh man, my people, I'm gonna help you all get sharp, man. But what do you stand on? What's your foundation? I mean, you even have that dude, Pan Africanism Strikes Back, talking about benefits of slavery, man. I mean, this is a real era of chaos, man. People inviting rapists, child molesters, scammers. My goodness. I saw a video today. It's an old video, but a dude in England, man. His sister was robbed from Polite. He said like, $10,000 or something like that. Man. My goodness. It's coming to an end. Some people are just groupies, man. I've met so many male thoughts, man. So many. See, if the males are groupies, if the males are thoughts, what are the female going to be? It's Pan-African, some of the lowest, most disgusting B-made dudes I ever came across, man. A lot of them don't know Jack, don't have Jack popping off in their life. And many times they will prey on the younger ones and try to act like they're going to kick it and stuff. And some of them come from the continent, from the motherland. And just like we have some people in certain parts of the world who feel superior just because of where they are from, where they were born, where they live at. Yeah, some people come from the continent who think that just because they were born in the continent, that they know better and they have the solutions and all that, and they are just some straight up butt kissers, man. A lot of people are groupies, man. They are comfortable. They like the comfort zone. Okay, you have many people there. I'm going to go there. Look at Pum Pum Smash Rockwell popping off the mouth. Check this out. This Pum Pum Punani. This Pum Pum, comma, slash, space. This Punani started off saying the Hyksos are fake. They made that up. Have you heard what he was saying lately? He moved the goalposts. He's like, oh, they were not the people, they were from rulers. So first, they are fake. They made that up. And now it's trying to change narrative. Grown males in their 50s, near 50 years old, and can't admit what they're wrong. That's the B-made Pan-Africans for you, man. You're not saying that Pum Pum Smash is a Pan-African. Pan-Africans are like that, man. Wrong and still talking smack, man. I mean, I could tell you stories for days, but I guess those are in Europe, so it may not be that interesting. But Pan-Africans are some B-made dudes, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. They are really B-made. And I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about back then. See, back then it was different, but now it's a badge of honor. It's just to them, it's a badge of honor. And you have some people from the continent, it looks like they think they're supposed to be down with Pan-Africanism because we have Africa in the name. Probably a lot of them don't even know what it means, And when I see those Muslim Pan-Africans down with the NOR who teach that Allah is a man, it gets even more amusing. It gets even more amusing because in that mosque, they will never rock with that. But the only people who benefit from African unity are African descent. You have so many Pan-Africans, man, who never even work a day. I mean, they never had a full-time job, man. They've been making a living, just running them up, talking about plans and this and that. Hey, what, brother Afimi? What's up, brother? How you doing? Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I'm not echoing or anything.
No, it's great. It's great. Okay. But I thought you were joking about the background, but it does look real, man. It does look real as heck. Oh, it's not a background. It's a okay. It's a sheet. Okay.
It's a background, but it's a real background.
It's a real background. Okay, I get it. Yeah. That's why it looks so real.
I got it for my lady when she was doing
the Zoom stuff.
She's a teacher, and she was during COVID. She was doing some, online teaching. So I got her a bunch of backgrounds.
That's what's up, man.
That's the most professional looking one because I had stuff that like a snowy yard background, a mechanic shop background, all kind of stuff.
That's what's up. Oh man, I was smiling all through when you talk about the experiences. You said you had some holes in your shoes. And your dad went to get the Nike imitation,
Yeah.
and that dude who gave you some sneakers, like you thought he was being kind, and then he told everybody, man, kids are mean, man.
Yeah.
I mean, but you got to forgive them because they don't know what they're doing, man.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't really bother me. You know what I'm saying? Now at this stage of my life or anything, or it was tough to go through it when I went through it. But it was
he made you stronger. What doesn't kill you make you stronger?
I don't know if that did. If it did, then
it
okay.
did, bro. Man, when you're at school and people laughing at you, a group of people laughing at you, it's not easy, man. You know what I'm saying? Some people will end up being shy. As a matter of fact, I saw a girl. It was on Instagram, and she's from Haiti, and she explained that when she got to America, she couldn't speak the language. When she tried, she was being, teased and all that, So she stayed quiet. But now she just graduated, several universities, made her some offers, but she really stressed how she was just scared to just open her mouth. You know what I'm saying? It can really affect people, and people deal with it differently. Some people be like, okay, it is what it is. But some people, they're really affected by stuff like that.
I knew folks that grew into adulthood that they just didn't want to speak. They had complexes about it. From what from what I was talking about yesterday, but even my father, right? Now this is actually just racism. It's a racism thing. He got a complex about speaking around white folks. Like he was turning down positions at his job for advancement because it involved speaking to people too much. And when he told me that one day, I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, you speak in English. You have a stronger accent than I do, but you speak in English. What are you talking about? People can't understand you. And he just kept on saying the same thing. So I said, okay, what people can't understand you? Because I'm like, so I asked him specifically, okay, do black people up here have a problem understanding you? No. Okay. Is it white people? Yes. I said, Pops, they're just messing with you. That's all. They have a thing about like they don't respect anybody else's accents and dialects if you're not
except
white.
Europeans. Yeah, Europeans so good, man. It can be German, it can be Polish,
Right. It especially French and Italian, that type of stuff is looked at
Spanish.
as like romantic to them and stuff. Yeah, but if you're black and you have an accent that I guess they don't approve of.
Yeah.
Because all they're trying to do is get you to talk exactly like them.
Yeah.
They'll try to make it sound like you're not somehow speaking English or whatever, but all that they're saying is that you're not speaking English exactly like them.
Yes.
Because they have all kind of ways that they speak. So, if it's a white person from Boston, they want you to speak like a white person from Boston. If it's a white person from Minnesota, they want you to speak like a white person from Minnesota. So that's all. They want you to adopt all of their accents and speak to them that way.
Yeah.
So I said, they're just messing with you. They understand you just fine, Pops. They're just messing with you.
That's what's up, man. Dang. Oh, but things have changed, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Haitians, the Haitian Friday and all that, hey, it turned them into savages because now, people don't play with the zoos now, especially in Florida, particularly Miami. But I guess a lot of them would have been lawyers and doctors, but they turned them into savages. So,
I wonder about like the cyclicality of that stuff, because I know Jamaicans. I mean, when I was growing up, I got picked on, but like I said, it wasn't as bad as Haitians got it. But I feel like before my time, it probably was that bad for Jamaicans. I don't know. And it got to a point where,
you know, they're English speaking, so that must have helped.
Yeah. It does. But mostly also, you did have some, you know, I don't know if you want to say gangs.
Some cliques.
We tend to more so call them crews because like there's no large gangs in Jamaica like up here where you have 10,000, 20,000 members or anything like that. Gangs in Jamaica are like on average 30 to 50 people. And then the biggest ones will be maybe a few hundred, that kind of thing. So we tend to just call them like crews or the old term, the old time term posses or whatever. But I know that some guys, and sometimes just even some crazy individuals, kind of put a mark down or whatever, and it kind of got people to leave you alone a little bit. But like I said, when I go down to Miami nowadays, a lot of the Jamaicans are trying to hide who they are, so, you know, for getting picked on and whatnot. So it seems like it's like a cyclical thing that just happens over and over again with every generation. I don't know.
Things that people go through, man.
Yeah.
Oh man. But you know, the xenophobia, man, it's just amazing. And really Tariq Nasheed he has a great responsibility in that, man. Because the ADOS movement, I heard about it, but I didn't really hear about xenophobia like that, you know. But the Tariq Nasheed, man, he came just mess up the game for real, man. And it's amazing to me. I'm like, haven't you guys heard all the time he's been disrespecting foreigners? I think at some point people were saying that he's kind of, you know, done, you know, not going as hard as he used to, you know. But maybe it has something to do with him wanting to do some stuff, you know. I don't know if it was something to do with African music, some festival, something to do with music, but his so-called museum, man, you know what I'm saying? You know, you just have posters like that, you know, and now apparently he's doing some sort of, you know, comedy jam or whatever, stuff like that. I mean, but hey, if they like it, you know, it's more power to them, you know what I'm saying? But the xenophobia is not necessary. And then again, the foreigners, the migrants, it's not only people who come from many black populated countries, you know, you have foreigners from all over. But I never heard the smoke coming from those people, the Tariq Nasheeds and, you know, FBAs towards, you know, a lot of other people, man. But there's one thing that I've seen on the Breakfast Club. It's a lady who interviewed that candidate, a presidential candidate,
Ramaswamy or something like that.
And I thought it was embarrassing. You know, that lady. I'm sorry, man. You know, and Envy, sorry, DJ Envy surprised me because at one point he told the candidate who was the host, if I'm not mistaken, oh yeah, but you know, every time she's trying to ask you a question, you cut her off, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That chick was cutting him off all the damn time, and I thought I was low of Envy. You know what I'm saying? I don't have anything personal against him, but I was like, come on, man. This lady was like, she's a vet. Some people, you know, they spend time in the army, and they will automatically say that they are a vet. You know, and to me, there's a connotation. You know, if people look up, you know, veterans, you will say that it's a person that served in the army. You know, but to me, the connotation is like somebody that, you know, actually went to war. You know, and you have some people who join the army, you know, and they'll be in office, you know, ordering, you know, office supplies. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And at one point, she even told the dude, you know, did you ever do something like, you know, that wasn't for yourself, like maybe to get people to have a better lunch? And I'm like, what? So if somebody comes and say, oh, you know, high school, you know what I'm saying? I was fighting so that we can have a better lunch. Then she would have been, oh yeah, okay, you're a good candidate to be. But you know, she was talking about, you know, the country that my ancestors built. I would like to see her having that smoke with other people, you know, who don't come from other background. Because I'm like, you know, in a sense, it's as if by her saying that, it's like, okay, so would you prefer that it's only a person that's from the same ethnic background as you that runs for presidency or something? Because at the end of the day, somebody who wants to be the president of the United States is not to cater to black folks, and that's what I've been saying with Obama. Obama ain't love for black folks. Guy didn't run to be the president of black people. He ran to be the president of the United States of America. You have a lot of minorities or different communities. They don't rely on no president to thrive. But people will be spending money and making it rain, quote unquote, on these so-called leaders. We'll be teaching them that they are marked, disfigured, the essence of ugliness. We'll be posting pictures of underwears that females sent them. You know what I'm saying? We can't get even one school after years, and then they want to cry about Obama. I'm like, hey. But yeah, that lady, you know, I forgot her name, but you know, I thought, but actually, I've seen many videos pop up of people who just, you know, criticizing her because, I mean, it was just weird, man. You would think she has something personal against him, you know, you know.
I mean, if she's a listener of Tariq and them, then she does have something against them. But to me, it was an example of how that kind of stuff kind of dumbs you down, because to me, it would have been stronger for her to just lean on her black, because she went to the military thing a lot. She went to that.
Oh, I'm a vet.
Yeah, she went to that a lot. And this is a guy who's the thing that he's most famous for is that he's trying to raise the age limit of voting. So he's basically, another way of putting it is he's trying to suppress the vote, because he's running as a Republican, and Republicans don't do well at all with young voters at all. Democrats are getting all the young voters. So he wants to raise the age so he can disqualify a whole bunch of young voters that would be going for the Democrats. Yeah. And easily you could just be like, you sure that's the message you want to come to black people with? Because there's no other group in the country.
Any people.
I mean, hey, it's not going to go over with any people, but why don't you give some of them other people a try? Because black folks been going through so much voter suppression stuff, their whole entire history in this country.
And now he wants to raise it.
Yeah, you think you're going to get any black votes by coming on a platform of, I want to suppress your vote? That's insane.
Yeah, that idea, you know, I think is off, you know. I mean, you know, the affirmative action ending, I'm like, hey, you know, but, you know, now I have to be careful what I say now, because you have Butler Reggie and, you know, Pum Pum Smash and all these xenophobic, they may want to use anything that I'm saying, but it is what it is. But I noticed that he is very keen towards Trump, because Trump had some other charges, and he did some live stream, you know, in front of what looked like a tribunal or some court, and you know, but hey, Trump, I mean, I cannot predict the future, but Trump is about done politically. That's it. It's a wrap. Plus, he was, yeah, go ahead, bro.
He's still the most popular Republican, though. Like right now in the runnings, he's the one that's the head.
To me, it's more like celebrity type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know, but he was found guilty of sexual assault or sexual, some sort of sexual assault. It was a civil case, and then he ran his mouth, and apparently the lady is suing him again. The lady who just won that trial, but yeah, there's the documents that he kept. And then there's some other stuff about, you know, the 2020 campaign, you know, so we'll see. But, you know,
unless they put him in prison, if that dude runs again, he's.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But what's for sure is that, you know, Joe Biden,
weak candidate.
He can't run again. Whoever's near him got to tell him no, man.
What, he's going to be 82 years old or something for the next election? Something like that?
To me, it's not even the age, because, you know, I'm surprised. I didn't know that Trump was in his 70s, man. You know, so I guess, you know, he's rich, so, you know, he may eat well. He is healthy for his age, in appearance at least. But Joe Biden, that's it, man. I don't know if he has Alzheimer or whatever he has.
Oh yeah, he's definitely deteriorating.
Oh yeah. And even before he got elected, all these videos of him, you know, being inappropriate with his hands and the children, you know. But Andrew, how you doing, sister?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Oh, just chilling, just politicking.
Yeah. I was going to comment on the Trump thing. Those people don't care that he did all that, you know.
They don't care
The Christians in America, white Christians in particular, believe in that blanket forgiveness policy. They don't care whether the offense was done to them or not. They just feel it's their duty to say we forgive him of all the things that he's done, because that's what Christians are supposed to do, you know. But it's not, like I said, forgiveness doesn't go to, you don't forgive something that didn't happen to you. He didn't do it to you. So how can you forgive something that wasn't done to you? But they think it's okay just to put this big old blanket, we forgive, and that's supposed to just cover all that stuff up. That's why he remains popular, because of those types of Christians that are out there that won't hold him accountable for his behavior, because we forgive him. So it's okay now. We forgive him, you know. So that's where all that comes from. That's why he's still popular, you know. But if you ask, when you ask, because I ask those questions, so you mean to tell me when he, you know, I would ask some of my white coworkers who were consider themselves Christian. So you say your brothers and sisters are the blacks and the Hispanics, and also, so how did you feel when he was going up that escalator saying that your Hispanic brothers and sisters were rapists and all that kind? How did that bother you at all? And they just give you this blank stare, like, why are you? Did he grab you by your private parts? That's okay for you. If he did that to your mama or your sister or your wife or your daughter, you'll be okay with that? Well, you know. And so when you throw that stuff back on them, they look at you like, how dare you? How dare you ask me those questions? Well, that does, you know. I'm like, yeah, y'all need to go see what it is to be a Christian, because apparently you don't even go by your own book. You don't live one creed. You just, you know, I know a lot of people didn't like Hillary. I know a lot of people didn't, some of the stuff that her and Bill said and did back when he was in the office. But at the end of the day, she was most qualified. But because she was a woman and because she had all that quote unquote history, we can't vote for her.
With that, I gotta rule that to the electoral college thing, because Hillary Clinton got over 3 million more votes.
Yeah, but the big elector stuff. Yeah, I forgot.
And lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I'm just saying they you know, but people when not back then, people were upset with, you know, they didn't want a woman candidate. Or president. They didn't want that, so they came up with every excuse in the world. What about those 33,000 emails that you kept hitting? Well, go back and look at what Bush did. He had even a whole lot more than she had. Did y'all ask him for his? Where's all his stuff that he took? That, you know, but you know, I'm not, you know, when it comes to Democrat, Republican, all that stuff, there's, you know, good on both sides to some degree. But at the end of the day, you know, they're gonna how he won. It's still mind-boggling. But I'm not gonna stand like here and you know where I live, they or in the state that I live in, they suppressed like 85,000 votes that would have gone. That we don't know which way it would have gone, but it probably would have turned the state a different color. So I'm just saying, you know, just like in Florida, Afemi was saying, Bush, but just like Afemi was saying, it doesn't, you know, they don't care how they play the game. You know, they change that goalpost every step of the way. Okay, now we're going to raise the age limit of voting, and then it was all these kinds of different things. You know, they didn't want you to go early vote. You know, they closed some of the precincts down so you couldn't go vote. I mean, all that stuff. They're doing everything to keep people from not having the voice. Yeah,
they're making it harder. They're making it harder. You know?
Yeah.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi, Dave.
Hiya. Hello, Medea. Big up, Shaka.
Big up, our brother from England. What's on your mind,
I'm just
brother?
sitting back here. Yeah, are you talking about Trump?
Talking about everything. Yeah,
sort of, kinda.
Wow,
he grabs them
he's
by
a
the
character,
pony.
isn't he?
Yeah.
That. Yeah, he is.
He's on tape saying, you know, gotta grab them by the pony. And also, I heard a tape. I don't know if it's ending, but I heard a tape where he was talking about these files that he took home, and you know, he's talking to some ladies, and they're like, yeah, it's classified. Yeah, it's classified. It's like he's bragging, you know. So I don't know if it's true, if it's real, but
yeah, but he thinks he can think it, and documents are unclassified. I don't have to say it. I'll just think it. The documents are unclassified. I'm like, you're an idiot. Stop. No, you can't. Can't do that. Stop that. You
But if
know,
if
Well,
Biden
that's
if
Trump.
Biden runs, it's a wrap. You know, Biden is.
he can't run.
he's
He's
too
falling
old.
over.
But he said he
I
wants to, didn't he?
he needs to sit. They need. There's. I don't
He
know.
falls over every
Yeah.
Too
minute,
many
and he's
times.
falling asleep.
Yeah.
Yep, that
He's bad.
too.
He's worse than Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson. Honestly, I mean, the world leaders today. It's a joke. It's a
It
joke
is.
from the civil rights coming up.
Mm,
You've got Trump. I mean, it's a great thing for what Trump has achieved as being a businessman. And I
if
think
you
the only
think
one
so.
would have been well, no, as I mean, for us being in Europe, maybe I'm not sure what Shaka thinks, but when we look at American politics, those things wouldn't.
It can't
Well,
happen in
it
Europe.
may
You ain't
happen.
gonna,
It
you
may
ain't gonna have a
happen. It
businessman
may
becoming a
happen.
president.
It may happen in the future, but it doesn't
Not now.
happen in the UK,
Yeah.
in certain European countries. Businessmen
Yeah.
don't just turn
Except for
around,
actors.
or
Except
celebrity.
for actors.
Celebrity
He's a
Ronald Reagan,
con
right?
man.
Yeah.
Reagan was the first one, wasn't it? So we always look at America as when it comes to politics, it's a little bit of a showbiz. It's a bit like the movies. We've got British Path, slapstick, and then you've got Hollywood. You know,
But
so
But at least Reagan did serve in an office. He was governor. The last
right.
that one didn't do anything. He wasn't in the military. He did nothing. So he
But
doesn't
what
qualify.
about Arnold Schwarzenegger? He's another
Yeah,
one.
but them
He's a
too.
mayor.
Yeah. Again, he can't. I don't think he can run because
And then
he's not
Kanye
American.
West. Kanye.
Yeah, like
Oh
I
no,
said, any of those who
I'm
come
sure
out.
he's American. He was a governor. I don't think you can be a governor and not
Yeah,
be
I'm not.
American. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Arnold was born like in
Austria.
Austria.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
so,
any of these reality
Arnold
TV
Schwarzenegger.
stars and stuff don't qualify. At least Reagan did serve as governor.
There is no way Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been a mayor anywhere in Austria. No way. It wouldn't happen. Right? Them things ain't gonna. Believe you me, America's politics is. I don't understand it because it's just an outsider looking in. It's not for me to say, but it's really perceived as like showbiz, you know. And I think it comes to the American dream. You know, America's fast paced. There's nothing like it. There's never been anything like America. It's been a massive experiment, and it's in full flow. And now we've got Trump, and then Biden. He's falling asleep, or he's falling up the steps, or falling down. So I mean, as politics go, we just want the people to get fair representations and rights and justice for everyone. And that's all I would wish for every person. No corruption, but they're all up to it. I can bring it back to England. They're as corrupt as any other nation. They're the most corrupt government in the whole world. So, I mean, and plus their past with Atlantic slave trade, and which was the most horrific event in human history. There's never ever been anything as bad as that. That was absolutely atrocious how they treated people. So, yeah. I believe I'm a bit like Shaka. I'm saying there's no way Trump will win. But I was just doing the washing up, and my dad said he was listening to the news, and he's getting more voters now.
Yeah, but they said that the last time he ran too, they didn't think he was going to win, and then by hook or crook, it happened, right? I mean, when he ran in 2016,
that was
so
a surprise, man.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, people say that he has no way. Boom.
Andrea, what is your view on him? How is it? I mean, because I came to America, and when I heard about Obama, I saw him once, when I was working in West End of London. I so happened to see Barack Obama, and I spoke to a gentleman in New York, I said, what do you think about Obama? Because I was pro Obama. I was so excited about it. And he was just disrespecting Obama. I was so shocked.
Yeah, well, I like, for the historical purposes of what they say it was, I was okay with that. I didn't vote for him because I wanted him to do stuff for black people and all that kind of stuff. I understood that he was running for president of the United States and all that kind of stuff. I got all that. But
Yeah, but
just
black people are American. Black Americans are American.
right. That's what I'm saying.
So
I wasn't looking at it like just for, but some people like they thought that he's black, so he should have been doing things for just black Americans. I get that. I know, I'm not saying that we're not. I'm just saying that that's not, he didn't run on the premise of just doing things for black people, because that's how people viewed him. Now they got this black president, he's going to come in there and do all the stuff for black people. That's not what he got elected for. I mean, there's stuff that could have and should have been done, because they had 2 years where they were in control. There was stuff they could have and should have been done that they didn't do, that I think would have benefited black people more. But at the end of the day, it didn't happen. And that's the politics of the United States. They look at what they think is priority and what they think should be done first. And, the can just gets kicked down the road as it concerns our concerns, and then other people's concerns come in before ours. So and then when Trump came in, that was a whole, good grief. I mean, good grief. When he started, he didn't even put people in positions that should have been in positions of government. So, we got a whole lot of stuff, a lot of regulations cut and a lot of taxes lowered. And what gets me though, with all of that, is they complain about people who get welfare, quote unquote, who are at the bottom rung of the ladder. But when they do those $1 trillion tax cuts, they don't consider that government welfare. It's done by the government. The taxes are cut by the government, but they don't consider that welfare. It is government welfare at its worth, because it's trillions of dollars that they get benefited from and that we have to pay for as taxpayers. But the people who are on welfare, and some of them who shouldn't be on there, but at the end of the day, they're not making no more, hardly a dent compared to that $1 trillion tax cuts benefits that they got. It's just amazing. It's amazing.
I'm sorry to be controlling the conversation there, but the same thing in UK. The tax cuts benefits the rich. It makes the poorer poorer, but these tax breaks also is knocking out the middle class.
Exactly.
So when the mortgage rates go up, surprisingly, there's a lot of black people that are into properties. Quite a few African people do properties. So it's severe. In Europe, it's as corrupt as anywhere else, or as unfair as anywhere else, and I think the general population just accepts it, where other nations, you would have maybe a civil war or something like that. But
the way they spin it though, they make it sound like it's a benefit for everybody, right?
Yes,
but I think if people take time and sit back and listen at what's being said, then they'll hear that they're asking us to pay for these $1 trillion tax cuts, right? But they don't want to consider that, again, they don't want to consider that being a government welfare recipient. They don't want to see it in those terms, because that's exactly what it is. We have to pay for all of that. They want to say they're conservative, but most of the time when one of the Republicans gets in office, we wind up in a huge deficit that, the next person coming in is you have to claw your way out of that, And so they want to spend money on the military. Like, how much more money do they need? But then they don't want to take care of the veterans when they suffer from post-traumatic, stress disorder or whatever happens because they had to go to war, especially this last one. So
yeah, again, so V Bennett, I can link that up, because V Bennett's saying about the migrants, and we're getting a massive influx of migrants. America's getting a massive influx. Europe, Shaka must know that they've been sending people from France to England, or they're not that they're sending them. They're not stopping them. Basically, there's some. So there is also, again, the country that I'm in are going to war in these places, are destabilizing their countries. These people are looking, their lives are in, most of them are in problems and are looking for a better life. The funny thing is they pick and choose who they want to let in.
Mm-hmm.
1 minute they were gonna send back the Windrush generation, which helped build up England, you know, after the Second World War. All their children they wanted to send back, and then they allowed Europeans just to come in, and you know, it's as if it's one rule for one rule for the other. Why is it that people have to get visas? Because the thing with the visa, to me, it is an unfair system. So the people that can get the visa, and I would have said 5 out of 10 are not legit people. You have decent people that want to come abroad and would do a good, you know, want to improve their life and probably wouldn't go into crime and stuff like that, or you know would be an asset, or you know, but I think the visa causes a lot of corruption. So you get a lot of I just don't understand how they're saying you've got to have a visa and then Europe can travel wherever they want. And a lot of those guys have got criminal records in their country. You don't know where they're from. Different people. It's just unfair, I think, and especially places like Jamaica or Haiti, you know, ex-colonized places. They should be allowed more than, you know, than the Europeans. But as soon as it gets the migrant thing is we're treated differently, you know.
Yep.
And it's disgusting. It's just a reminder that we haven't gone anywhere. You know, it's such a reminder that you know, we're in a white countries and stuff, and the more that we're not together, and you know, we're not uniting, you know, if we're not getting involved with politics and understanding politics, and the more we're trying to be Moors or Aborigines or whatever, that doesn't really I don't think that's
Do anything for
going
the
to
community.
improve our condition, you know.
Right.
You know, it's not really going to improve our condition. What's going to improve our condition is knowing about politics, voting for the people that's going to be in there, supporting our people when they're in, supporting people and not trying to bring them down. And I think the biggest one is uniting as a people. As Shaka was saying, you know, we can disagree. I mean, the Europeans don't, English don't like the French don't like the Germans don't like the Dutch don't like the Russians, the Slovakian don't like the Polish, you know, the Serbians don't like the Bosnians. So they're all at war, but when it comes to work, they're working together and they're all pulled together. So why can't we do the same? So I just think if we just need to get a massive education. I suppose it's not our fault. We've been robbed of education, you know, but look at the time now where education, and there's a chance to improve yourself education wise, or to have that vote. And look at the Mexicans. Look how the Mexicans are, you know, in America. You know, they're all together. They don't like each other.
You know, I would like to interject.
Go on. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good. The Mexican is similar to Jewish people. They share the same language,
Really,
same culture, the same religion. You look at black people,
Catholics.
You know what I'm saying? So many languages, so many different cultures, so many different religions, you know. And we even creating new ones, hybrid ones and stuff like that. And you see
we're adding to it.
Yeah, and here you see, Donnie Williams, we need to worry about our political issue and so on. But I don't know if you guys notice, but for a very long time, the so-called revolutionary black folks, so-called conscious black folks, they be talking against voting. Like it's useless. Sometimes I have to wonder, do they get paid? You know what I'm saying, to promote this nonsense? You know what I'm saying? Because it has an importance, and it's not necessarily only at the national level, like the presidential elections. You know, because we like to complain about things not changing. When it's time to vote, you hear those guys, oh, don't vote, it is useless, it doesn't have whatever. I'm like, but hey, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's great because so you're absolutely right. It's look, the other thing is, if we're going to be doing business with Africa, we don't need to learn Spanish. We need to learn French. French is the second language of the black man in the world. English is
I
first,
would say,
and then
sorry,
French.
coming from a French-speaking country, we don't even need that, because most people
No,
on planet Earth speak English. So if people want to do business with Africa, they when it
English
comes
is
to
okay.
yeah, it will do. It will
Okay,
do.
well, so why can't we? So why are we not communicating, and why are we not
Well,
you
because
know?
you have this house of consciousness who allow people to teach that they hate Africans as a people, that they celebrate the death of Africans, and we have those Moors who say we ain't Africans, and an Ethiopian is like what a Negro is a four-legged dog, something like that. But anyway,
Yeah,
that being said, there's a French rapper who is biracial. The father, I believe it's the father, but one of the parents is from Senegal, and
right.
the other parent is like a French person. Now, because he's from Senegal, he tried to do some business with Senegal, and this is like there's a program, a TV program where they're having dinner and they talk about politics, art, all sorts of topics. You see, and
Right.
then there's a guy who's known as a right wing person who actually ran for presidency of in France, during the last election.
Oh,
He
right. I
is
think I saw him. Did he
Zemmour.
get called
Zemmour.
Did he get called a black something? Someone called him a black something in the parliament. They called him a
Oh no,
bad
no, it's not
word,
that one.
and then
No,
they.
no,
Okay,
no, it's not
sorry.
that one. That one
All
actually,
right.
he used to do the fitness in the gym where I used to practice Muay Thai, and I
Oh,
didn't even know
really?
he was into. But yeah, yes, you know what I'm saying. So
Wow.
yeah, and he was also a personal trainer on the side. There's a singer called Aya Nakamura. I don't know if you heard of her, but she's doing very well. He used to be
Okay.
her personal trainer. But that being said, the French rapper explained that he wanted to do some business with Senegal, and he found out that uh, it was extremely difficult because the China, and this is a guy who ran for presidency, who's like Trump. He's like a French Trump, and
Right.
he actually said, yeah, because he allows Chinese people to do so. China has a some sort of preferential treatment, you know what I'm saying, or deal, or opportunity, you know. But that is probably France has something to do with that. Just like the
Okay.
money, the French CFA. I mean, basically the colonial, the former colonial money. But things are changing a lot. We have seen. I'm sorry that
Could
French
could I
army got
say
kicked out
something
of
quite
Mali.
controversial? I
Yeah,
mean,
go ahead.
I don't really hear many people talk about this. I mean,
Okay.
we're getting the gist of it.
Mm.
Caribbeans don't get along with the Africans. The Africans that are in America, they're not getting on with the Black Americans. There is barriers there. There is something going on. I have trouble. I mean, I have many Africans as friends. I grew up with Africans and stuff, but there is no unity there. Like, it's a
There's no,
strange thing.
but there's
There
no,
is like
there's,
a hatred within our within our within ourselves.
but brother, there's no even unity amongst Caribbeans. There's no unity amongst Africans themselves. You have a lot of tribalism. So, things like that have been happening for I don't know how long,
Yeah.
and it's not just black people. Like the Chinese. Now I forgot the names. but it's two main dynasties that don't get along. And
What
you
the
know, we
Ming
see.
and the Tang?
Well, I don't know the name of my head because at work there was a guy who lived in China. You know what I'm saying? And he obviously spoke Chinese, and he told us about these, you know, these guys who hate each other and stuff like that. So,
But Shaka, they're doing all right though. I mean, there's no one as poor. There's no one as poor as a Chinese man or an Asian person or a
well,
South American.
actually,
There is
they are,
nowhere in Africa as poor as those people. But
well
some of those
in
people
Africa.
are much.
In Africa, maybe you won't find, you know, poor Chinese people, because when they go to Africa, they go to the business. But in China, I saw some documentary where you can see them. And when I say that, I don't mean all Chinese people, but you can see some Chinese
No.
people actually living in cages, you know,
Mhm.
Well, I'm
like kind
telling
of
you, there's
underground.
places.
And hold on,
Yes.
a lot of them, when they go to the West, you know, in America, they basically have a debt for life. They will work for life just to give their children
It's like
a bright
slaves.
future.
Yeah,
You
it's like
know, so
slavery.
it's like
Yeah.
like I'm taking you over there. You're gonna work over there, but you're gonna work until, you know, and they do some crazy shifts, and they basically have no life. You know what I'm saying? So that's some of the things that, you know, we're not too accustomed to, too familiar with. You know,
Right.
but the thing is that, you know, the tribalism, it is there, but we just have to allow ourselves with like-minded people. What I lament, what I regret is that all those years we had those Pan-Africans, those so-called conscious people, those people from, you know, the MSTA, the NOI, and all these different groups who've been hijacking the movement, who've been sucking our blood, and even till this day. And that's one thing also, I think if we choose people to lead, then maybe it will be good, unless people have a track record of making things happen. But it would be good to have some people who worked a few years, a 9 to 5 or something like that. Because there's a French Pan African that I talked about, who started off in the Nation of Islam, got kicked out of the NOI, but claimed that he left it because it wasn't for us, became Kemetic, and then once he, you know, went up, he returned to the NOI and started dissing Kemetic people, right? Now, that dude, he was working like part-time at a school when he started his movement. Now his dad is a doctor, medical doctor, a Freemason at that. So that guy was working like part-time, you know, just a few hours, you know what I'm saying? But he never had a full-time job. All his damn life, he's been raving that Pan-African rhetoric. And it's just like Umar Johnson, who for the last few years, you know, not to my knowledge, I don't even, maybe he has secretly, but it doesn't look to me like he had any a full-time job. So you have those guys, different Pan-African movements, and those guys is just been living off, you know what I'm saying, doing that rhetoric. And what has been the advancement? You know, once again, we have Molefe Asante's organization, though he was kicked out recently, but we had a lady called Ama Mazama. She may not be too well known in the English-speaking world, even though she taught at Temple University. She has a PhD in linguistics. She has a Pan-African or so-called Kemetic organization that has given a trophy to a rapist that do to rape the handicapped woman. They gave a trophy to that organization, and they celebrate Kwanzaa. You know what I'm saying? But that's the sad reality.
Did
Those
you
guys.
see Sanetta getting the award from some people from the UK? Did you see that video? And I thought to myself,
I thought it was the
you
other way.
may not,
I thought it was the other way
but I
around.
thought to myself,
I
because
thought
you're
he gave
getting
them. Yeah.
because you're getting UK people on, he wants to kind of throw a kind of a diss at you to say, well, I can get an English. They gave him an award, right? And he said he had it on his on. I've never seen these people. They just look fake. They look like fake. They had their own award ceremony. There wasn't even a proper body. I've never heard of these people. You know, it's like me setting up a
Some
an
people
awarding body.
better not tell me
You
their
know,
names, man, because you know I'm gonna have them, you know, recanting. Like basically, they're gonna say I didn't know. They're gonna say, oh, we didn't know he was done with all these rapists and child molesters.
well,
But you know,
they were well happy. He showed the video of them, and he was, you know, he's got
I mean,
his
I saw a
plan.
video. I saw, but I thought it was him who gave them an award.
No,
You know,
no,
but
they gave
yeah,
it to
yeah.
him.
Yeah,
He
but I saw
won
only
it.
a few seconds because he was talking about something else. Some video that was given, you know,
Yeah,
to
I
go
was
through.
like, I've never seen these
But
people before. And his
yeah,
Pan-Africanism, it's a bit suspect, you know. If I see anybody with like the Pan-African, they always a bit fake, you know. They're a bit, you know.
Most of them
I'm
are,
sorry to say,
yeah. To me, that's how I feel. Most of them are fake today. I
they're
mean, it's just a
faking it.
badge of
You know.
honor, and they have no direction. It's a melting pot of everything. And I've been vocal about this, and I will continue to be vocal about this. But what's funny is that Pan-Africanism strike back dude Brandon out of LA, who recently talked about the benefits of slavery. Where are the Pan-Africans? Why isn't that the Pan-Africans will say anything? I mean, even in France, those damn punk Pan-Africans, that lady who used to be a Pan-African burned the Pan-African flag. Then said Jack, they're real B-made. They're doing friendship foolishness. Like, as long as you're one of them, you're Pan-African, they're going to defend you even if you're raped. Because once again, that guy who was given a trophy by Molefe Asante's former organization, he's a leader of a Pan-African organization. And people came up with a gang of excuses. And just the things that what we're seeing, all these Hebrew Israelites and all these rape cases and all that, and all these excuses for rape.
Yeah.
That guy, when it was revealed that he went to prison for raping a handicapped woman, you wouldn't believe on Facebook all the messages of support that he had. People talking about, we were mistakes, you know what I'm saying? Malcolm X, you know what I'm saying? He did bad stuff, And the reality is not just the Black community, but you have a lot of people who have raped or witnessed rape and then did Jack and then said Jack, and they're trying to normalize it, like it's part of the game. And it's just horrible, man. A lot of cats,
it's
you know what I'm saying? And we have that other Hebrew brother, and I told him that, he should take that back. He was talking about non-violent rape.
Was that the GMS guys?
No, he's not part of a camp. The funny thing is that those Hebrew Israelites, they're never part of any camp. They never, when they come and have dialogue with me, they never belong to any camp. But they defend nearly all Hebrew Israelites. If they will criticize some Hebrew Israelites or some camps, they're still down with the Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 28, which clearly says that rape is permissible. And if the guy rapes a virgin and he's not caught, he can just go and rape all day. It's only if he is caught that he has to pay 50 shekels to the father. And people make excuses for that. You know what I'm saying? But besides that, we have those real life case of people who were found guilty of rape. And usually they rape, children, usually it's the daughters of their wives or, partner, girlfriends. And people act like it's so good, like it's normal. Like Sanella and all these HOK people. All those guys who get on the platform, I call them out. They know the deal. Jabari Osase knows that. He has no problem with that. And that's disgusting. I would prefer if he was a Hebrew Israelite or Christian or Muslim, but not Kemetic. Because that makes Kemetic people look bad, man. Knowing that he spoke unpolite. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, he's a chief. He's a chief of a village as well.
Yeah, but man,
all them thing that, and he support. No one. It's honestly, it doesn't take much. Someone got to say something. It's wrong. You can't be a high priest.
Somebody got to do it.
You can't be a high priest. Sorry, Andrea.
Go ahead.
No. After you, please.
No, I was gonna jump back to something that you and Femi first came on the air. And you were talking about your dialect and how people were, would have problems with your dialect, right? Okay, so I grew up where we learned to speak English properly, as they call it. And so even the Black kids we went to school with, you think you're better than we are because you can speak proper English. So it doesn't. Some of it didn't matter whether you were from a different country. It's just you just didn't speak the way we didn't have the Ebonics down correctly, right? So as if that was something that we needed to do, because that's not, we just weren't around. We weren't raised around a lot of Black people, so we learned. We spoke the way we spoke, but we got. They accused us of all kinds of stuff. You think you're better. They thought because of where we lived made us think we were better. All kinds of stuff. We had all kinds of stuff that came at us just because we didn't speak Ebonics. So I'm just saying it didn't matter whether it doesn't matter whether you're out of the country or in the country. If your dialect is just different from what would be considered the norm in a particular area, then something was wrong with the way you were talking. Because you talk like you're white is what we were told. Yes, you act like you're white is what we were told. Yeah. All those things that we got and I'm born in America. You know, they're born in America, but because there was this line of demarcation that they felt was different than how they grew up, something was wrong with me, but it wasn't wrong with them. So I wanted to make that point as well.
No,
And
I like that one.
hold on, please, brother. You know what's funny? I mean,
Yeah,
they
go
eat
on.
the same as white people. They have the same culture as white people. They have the same religion as black people, as white people. But then just over the way somebody speak, they'd be like, "Oh, you're talking white." It's fine, but they're living white though, you know. But go ahead, brother JTV.
Well, my surname's White, so that's even worse. So, I mean, you couldn't make it up, you know. I lived in Jamaica.
That's a history.
Yeah,
we know the deal.
I lived in Jamaica, and I can't. You cannot speak in a certain way to certain people at certain levels, and it's just a fact. That's it. You just got to speak how, you know, get with it, you know, and the way that they're speaking is not going anywhere. So they're probably not going to go anywhere. But it's just so hard. You get fought down just by how you speak. It's not your choice. It's not our choice. It's ridiculous because we're still wearing the white man's clothes. We're praising the white man's religion. We're living in the white man's cities. You know, we're going to the white man's job. You know, and I'm in the belief now. I just give up and I just try to be myself. And I was born in England, and that's it. I can't try and be anything else. When I went to Jamaica, they called me English, you know. So that's another race. You could say that's racist. But I was going to ask Shaka,
I bet you a lot of them would like to be in your shoes.
France? Probably.
In
How is it in France? Speaking, is there a posh French or? Not posh.
No, it's different. It's different in France. They don't really have that because a lot of Africans, I would say the average educated African speaks French way better than the average French educated person. You know,
wow.
The French that the Africans speak is like very, very
high level.
High level, very high level. You know, the vocabulary is very high level. And I guess, you know, the way I speak English is like, you know, I ain't trying everything, but you know, when they teach you the proper English, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
but I'm not speaking proper English. I'm not speaking proper English. Some people would say that I have a Cockney accent, which is an East London accent.
That's an accent that's different. The accent is different than the actual vocabulary.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So, the choice of my words might be so I can deal with someone like that, but just by the tone of your voice in England, you can be looked down on. So say if you're from Liverpool or if you're from Scotland or Wales.
No, we don't have that in France.
Right. So different areas.
Yeah.
You know, even within London, you have a sort of a Cockney accent, which is would be looked at as a low level, like how maybe would have said like how ghetto. If we were black people, say how ghetto people talk, they would say that the white people would say.
Is it that Jason Statham accent? Is it Cockney accent? Okay.
Exactly.
But when he speaks it, nobody says it's ghetto.
Michael Caine. Who else? I mean, it's the Cockney accent is very popular, but it's basically it comes out of the slum areas of London, the poor white areas.
That's so funny because you see on the screen where somebody, Donnie Williams said he sounds proper to me. He's saying he speaks the way that people speak from the slums over there. But over here, we can't tell the difference. It all sounds
I wouldn't say
English.
I wouldn't say I'm there. No, there's slummier than me. Believe you me. There's proper Cockneys. White people, they're Cockneys, and it's totally different. You have people from Liverpool that have a Scouse accent. You have Manchester. You've got Birmingham, Bristol. Oh my, it's so.
I heard one
Yeah.
time some of what they
Yeah.
call Cockney from white people, and I couldn't understand a word they were saying.
But it's the
There you
same
go.
thing here in America, right? You live down south, they have that country twang. You go up north, they have that post nasal sound. You go to LA, they got some, Valley Girl. It depends on. It's the same thing here in America because people are from different countries, and but
Yeah.
so the dialect is hard. You go to Louisiana, it's some of the stuff that you hear. It sounds kind of cray, right? When you like the movie The Water Boy, when you listen to how they were talking, it's like, what the hell did they just say? So I mean, that happens
Yeah.
right here in America. You don't have to go to another country to experience
Yeah.
a different type of dialect. So I'm just saying, it's just amazing that we have to separate ourselves based upon these different things, as if we had something to do with that. If you were, if your parents lived in the South, then you sound like somebody from the South. If you lived up in New York, you sound like somebody from New York. You live in Baltimore, even they have a different tone. When I hear Ching Ching come on, he has a whole
Ching
nother.
Ching. Yeah,
He's
Ching
got a
Ching.
whole
He's got
nother,
a great accent.
and I
He's got
love
a
it.
great accent.
Yeah, it's just
I
a whole
love
nother.
it. Oh,
And so
I could
that's
listen
what I'm
to
saying.
it for hours.
So, and then when you guys
You
come on,
just-
you bring a whole
Yeah.
nother flair to how we are able to be
Right.
around the world
Right.
and have all these different accents, and we still can communicate. We can still understand one another. Some may be a little more difficult than others, but you can still understand what we're saying. And I just, we just need to put all these.
It's a
This
pleasure.
stuff is nitpicky stuff. It's nitpicky, right? To try to say,
Yeah.
well, you guys overseas don't qualify because you're from France or you're from England and you don't understand.
Oh no.
It's ridiculous. We need to stop all this
But
nonsense.
I can see where they're coming from, Andrea, because we don't really understand. We're not living there, It's just a bit like someone going to speak to me about England. I live here, so I would know. And some people do that,
Yeah, but we have to come
we're
to
not-
you
we're
to
not
get that
coming-
information, though. That's what I'm saying. We
Yeah,
can't just
we're not coming
discard and
that way.
say, yeah, we don't
We're
come
willing
that way.
to
We just because because we don't want to understand, right?
Yeah.
They
Right.
want to call, like they automatically want to say, well, Shaka doesn't qualify because he's from France. What do you mean he doesn't qualify? This stuff happens. What he's standing on happens everywhere. Okay, so if you're talking about child molestation and that happens all around the globe. It's not specific to America. So for people to make those kind of stupid comments like that, just because he's from another country, is irrelevant. That's what I'm talking about. We need to be able to come together on and understand that this is a serious subject.
I'm waiting for my nickname. I'm waiting for my name to come up. I don't know what they're gonna call me, Mr. B.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. B. No.
Don't volunteer, right?
You can go against
What are they gonna
Frankie.
call me?
They will give
No
you a
more
nickname.
wisdom.
They will give you a nickname.
Austin
Yes,
Powers. I mean, what are they
Yeah,
gonna call me,
They're gonna
man?
call you Idris Elba.
yeah, but
Yeah,
we don't
Idris
need
Elba.
all that. Yeah, we
I
don't need all
mean,
that. We
you
just
know,
Black James Bond.
The
Yeah.
black, yes. Honestly. Oh man. Could you imagine?
But the rapists
I would
and the child
curse them out,
molesters,
Shaka.
they
I
don't
don't think
get
they would
no
do it.
nickname. They get all the respect in the world. How you doing, brother? Hey,
Yeah.
you come to this day?
But Shaka gets it. I mean, I don't know what it is. The French get it. They get it, didn't they? Everybody.
That's how you know they're hurt, brother. That's how you know they're hurt, man. Because once
Frenchy,
again,
I mean, it was ridiculous.
and
You know?
it's that punk Bobby Banger who came up with that first. You know what I'm saying?
You're joking.
Yeah.
I call
that
him
Bobby Banger.
50-50. When he's talking, no, I mean, he's just like someone that's kind of on the fence. He doesn't
Yeah.
even seem like I can't believe he was in the army. He's a bit, everything he
She
says,
thinks
he's
was in
like,
the
he's
army as
half,
well.
half and half.
He's just talking.
He's
for the
not
sake of
quite-
talking, man. He says he's like, he just loves to talk, man. He's like, you
Where's
ask him
Bobby?
about-
Oh,
ask him about astrophysics. You see, he's gonna run his mouth. Blah 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 blah. blah. But the
there was
thing
a
is that-
white guy. There was a white guy, right, from Florida, and he absolutely annihilated Bobby Banger, right? And Bobby Banger said to him, he just started to sound like a woman, telling the man about his hair. He cursed the man about the man's long hair, and the guy, the white man said to him, "Well, if you want to be like that, you got a bald head like a cue ball or something." And I'm like, Bobby, I can't even defend you. I have to be on the white man's side because you're just acting like a prat, And
I heard he cussed
That is-
that sister over there like that. I don't want to say her name, but I heard he cussed her like crazy. Yeah,
Oh,
there's a
not-
sister. That
Oh
douche or whatever,
man.
Dulcelina, whatever. I heard he cursed her like crazy.
Yeah, the
Bobby
women
Banger,
over
man.
there. I mean, look at the sister we have here, Andrea.
Mm.
I mean, you know, we have the. I don't know where they get all them people from. You got I do like them. Some of them I like them. You know, I even like Judah Naz. Because I find him so amusing.
Bro,
He's so funny.
Did you hear him
He
making all the
cracks
excuses
me
for
up.
Polite? He was making all the excuses in the world for Polite.
Oh
Maybe
no!
the girl was wearing the mother's clothes.
Oh
Or maybe whatever.
no!
Oh, that was horrible. Queen's Throne
I'm
played
gonna have
that.
to dig him out for that. You know, I'm gonna have to dig him out for that.
Queen's Throne played it,
Oh, I
brother. It
didn't
was
know.
just so horrible. He made all the excuses in the world as to why Polite may be innocent, but
Well,
he was cool
it's
inside
getting
there.
hard to go. You know, you can't go on anyone's panel now because they're all at it. You know, you're just trying to. Oh, jeez, man.
It's best for us to create our channels, you know, because those
You know,
guys are now.
well, we are. I don't. You know, I don't really like talking about religions and stuff like that. But I'm gonna be quiet for 2 minutes. Sorry.
No, but you know, I mean, Andrea said, and I agree. The rape, child molestation, it happens in the whole world. But I've never seen a panel that consistently invite convicted rapists, convicted child molesters, people who send money to child molesters, and scammers too, and pseudo people too. I mean, this is a cocktail of madness. You know what I'm saying? But I guess, you know, it's the law that's going to put an end
Nature
to
Boy.
that.
Sorry to cut you off. Nature Boy was just man. That was
and Frankie wants to interview him.
You didn't do your 2 minutes, Jay.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Wrong time.
I was just
I'm
messing
kind of
with you.
GMT time. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Right.
It was either yesterday or the day before that I found out that they had Nature Boy on there. I was like, wow.
Yeah, before they had him. But the things about before he didn't have this rape charge that he was waiting trial for.
But you know, way before he had any charges, dude was on video talking about stuff that he lets children do. You know,
but I don't know. I don't know if he was after he said that he was on SARS panel. Oh. Maybe, but at that I don't know.
I know that it was years ago that I saw that video, and ugh.
Oh, that dude is off, man. He's just off, man, for real.
Yeah,
well, you know,
because like I said, for me, I've learned about all this just this year because all this was like you have to go back and look at some of the stuff just to catch up. It's just some of it's hilarious because I'm like, I don't understand how grown people can just carry on this way when it comes to something that's a serious subject. We're not this is not like, you know, talking about politics or religion or something like that. That's a good discussion to have. But when it comes to the children and what's happening to our children, and for it to go that far, and for people to make excuses for somebody else's behavior that you know is harming our children, that's where, you know, it's not, this subject is not funny. All that other stuff, you know, you can get into all that, the history and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, the gaga goo goo and all that kind of craziness, right? You can get into that.
Just thinking about that.
I remember.
But this other stuff is not funny. This stuff is serious, and that's why when I come on here, I want to respect Shaka's panel. Same thing with B. Bennett. Whenever I go out there, it's because of what there's what they call it. What do you call it? Standing on your how do they say standing on your
square?
Square. Yeah. See, I catch up with all that. I'm not. Anyway, so you guys are standing on this square of protecting our children. And that's why I don't come out here and act all crazy, because it's serious when it comes to our children. I might, if there's some other topic that's funny or whatever, I might kind of get into it a little bit like that, but not this one, not this square, maybe another square.
Well, Andrea, I can't. I've got sisters, I've got nieces, and I've got nephews. I mean, I've got a son and myself. I've got a mother. I mean, even yourself, Andrea. You're like my sister. As I said, I don't know you that well, but you're still like my sister. I wouldn't nothing to happen to you. So on no level can this be accepted, and it's happening a lot in our communities, and can't be seen supporting that at all, And for Shaka to be coming out and coming against it, I was fully supporting him, you know, and he's
Mhm.
done nothing wrong. And then they just made it. They're just getting worse and worse. What they said about his daughter, you know, that was too far, man. Because I went through Shaka's videos and I see him kicking up the punch bag. I said, but look, I said, but do they not actually watch, you know, look at the channels or see who? Because Shaka would mash up his head, you know, if you see him. He give him two kick, you know what I mean? You see him bent over. It's just, what is he playing at? What is wrong with him?
Mhm.
What is wrong? Why? You know, they have children as well. Come on,
You know,
you know,
you,
it's
you know what this
unbelievable.
reminded me of? It you know, this is a whole nother subject. I wouldn't need to go on the tangent. I'm just bringing this up. When Colin Kaepernick took his stand for what was happening to Black people in America, notice how they switched the narrative and made it about the flag when it wasn't initially about the flag, but they made it about the flag. I got
Right.
into this serious confrontation with this white dude at the mechanic shop, running his mouth, you know, just changing. I'm like, look, you're not going to say that. You're not going to talk to me about changing this narrative about the flag when my father, my husband, and 4 of my brothers, and that's just my immediate family, were in the military and did stuff for this country. I don't want to hear your stupid ass excuse about you want to sit here and say, well, my so and so died for this. My daddy fought for this country too. Shut your damn mouth. And you're not going to change the narrative because you want to make it sound good in your ears that this was about the flag. And you know damn well it wasn't about no flag. So every time I hear somebody come up and bring some stuff up like that, I immediately correct them because you're not going to get away with I fought for this country. Well, I can give you a whole list of my kinfolk that have done that. I don't want to hear that, right? So I try to squash that, you know, because they still bring it up. They still, you know what? Hey, my husband's standing right here. He was in the military too, served this
Right.
country just like you did. So shut your damn mouth. I don't want to hear it. That's no excuse for you to say it's okay to change the narrative because you think it sounds good to you. You're not going to do that in front of me. So just don't do that. So all that kind of stuff that, you know, we have to deal with when it comes to people understanding who we are and what we do and all that kind of stuff. So when we come at each other over this other stuff that is so important, that we some people don't want to take this particular subject seriously. It just that bothers me, and it will always do that. You know, we need to stop and behave.
Yeah, I have a friend that was working. He had left the job because of racism. I mean, you know, the racism in England is not a joke. So you're at work, and you know, I mean, I worked for within 20 years in the security industry, and I became a supervisor. And you know, I should well have been a manager of certain regions, and you know, but there's a glass ceiling that we encounter. It is really tough out here. But one of my close friends, I won't mention his name. He was working somewhere, and it was at around the time when Kanye West was around and was, you know, in the media. So he was telling me about his manager at work was saying things about Kanye West. Now, my friend was defending Kanye West, and I was trying to tell him to not say anything at all. Do not have these conversations with the man. You know, keep it to yourself. Don't talk about these things. You have to go to work. You just go and work. You don't get into these talk, you know, about certain things because it's not going to end good. And so, I mean, I had a view of Kanye West. I didn't really too like what he was doing, and then a couple of people checked me, and you know, I turned around and I said, you know what, I like him, you know, but you know, you have to be kind of careful talking to these people because you know, they just have a bad, you know, we're in their kind of world. If I, you know, we're in their kind
They
of
do a
world.
lot of run tell that.
Oh man, they're just trying to wind you up, you see. And I was trying to tell him, don't say nothing. He only ended up having an argument with the man. He only lasted 2 weeks after that. The man get rid of him. You know, You see,
Like,
there's a lot of
when a
horrible
black
stuff
person
going on
says,
out here.
when a black
There's
person
a lot
says
of
something
horrible
crazy,
racism
we like to
going on.
ask you about that. Like we're gonna go to a white person because some white person in the media says something crazy. Hey, what do you think about that? We don't do that. You know what I'm saying?
No, they're asking you, oh, so what do you think about Kanye West?
Yeah.
Do you agree with him?
Yeah.
And they're looking, and then as soon as you say, yeah, I do, you're only saying that because he's black. That is it. Next thing, you know, when you go in the tea room, no one wants to sit near you, you know.
And I'm okay with that.
The tea room gets quiet. People go moving over, kind of giving you this cold shoulder.
It didn't matter to it didn't matter to me that I didn't care what position anybody had. This last job I had, I was there for 18 and a half years. I didn't care what position I don't care what position you have. It doesn't give you a right to talk to anybody like you're crazy. It doesn't give you a right to disrespect anybody from the CEO on down. And when I quit my job, but before then I had quit my job because I was supposed to get a particular type of pay raise. And then they kind of slow rolled it. And then when I finally talked to somebody, they said, well, this is what we're going to offer you. I closed my door. I said, so you're going to tell me that I'm not worthy of this raise. That's what you're telling me. I said, I will take, and I said this is the CFO. I said, I will take my black ass back down to the front where I was working and keep doing what I was doing before you asked me to come down here. But now you're trying to tell me I'm not, I know how much y'all paid her. So now you're trying to tell me I'm not worth what ain't come close near what y'all paid her. I'm like, no, we ain't gonna do that. Went home, told my husband about it, went back to work the next day, talked to the CEO, asked him, do you know about all this? He's like, well, yeah. I said, did you think about it? He's like, oh, Andrew, we didn't even think about, how we're gonna, I said, oh, so you're gonna give her damn near a year to fuck shit up, but you wanna give me 12 hours to get over it? He told me to get over it. Well, she's not here anymore. Get over it, Andrew. I said, something went off in my head. And I just, so you're going to give me 12 hours to get over this insult, but you gave her damn near year to fuck shit up? I quit. And I slammed the door and went on about my business. I had, Andrew, don't quit. No, you're not. I don't care who you are. You're not going to do me like that. Who do you think you are? And they, Andrew, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done it. Let me tell y'all something. I had to break it down and look, I'm the best qualified executive assistant you have ever had. I'm a good confidential executive assistant. You're not going to find anybody better than me. And if you think I need this job, just like I got this one, I can find me another. So don't think you got a little something hanging on my head. She ain't going nowhere. She need this job. No, don't do that.
Yes.
I speak. Absolutely. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. You ain't going to talk to me like you crazy. You ain't going to treat me like you some.
Andrea, if we all behave like that, we'll be in a better position at work. But you don't have that. You have a lot of people.
Well, some people can.
They don't do nothing, and they'll even turn on you. They will turn on you. The same black one will turn on you, and I've had it all, Andrew. I've had horrible experiences at work.
I've had that happen before too with some other black coworkers. They don't want to talk to you more, but at the end of the day, okay, when I went to another job, here they come, Andrea, can I come? No, you ain't coming here because I know how you treated me back over there. No, you can't come here. I'm gonna tell them not to hire you. That's how you get back at those people. Right now, I had people come to me, Andrea, can I come over here? No, you can't come here. No, you can't come here. No, you can't come here.
I wish there was more people like you, Andrea. If there was more people like you, it'd be better for us.
Because I would tell them when I was standing up for black people over here, because sometimes I'd be the only black person on the job, and I'm like, where the black people at? Where the black people at? Where the black people at? I would ask those questions. Where they at? Oh, we don't know where they are. You're not going where they are. You're not going to the black colleges and universities to go find them. You need to go where you will find them. I said, if you're afraid to go because you don't want to be around a lot of black people, I will go on your behalf. And, so I would ask them once they brought the black people on and stuff would happen, especially with me, because I wasn't going to take nothing. Anyway, I've told a couple people to kiss my black ass a couple times on a couple of jobs and stuff like that, because I don't have time for that, right? And then they write you up, and all of a sudden the black folks would scatter. Oh, we got to stay away from Andrea because she told somebody to kiss her black ass, and we can't do that. And so, they would stand off to the side and just wait till the stuff died down, and then, they might come back and talk to you, might not. I don't care. I didn't care. I'm like, no, you're not going to talk to me. No, we're not going to do that, and you're not going to stop. You're not going to treat our black people this way. You're not. Our black people. They would see two of us together and they would say like, is this like we were going to lunch? Is this a black people thing? I said, no, it's not like a KKK thing when your white folks go to lunch. Don't get away from me. What are you
And
talking
then
about?
they be like, what
Andrew,
are
I
you
got
locked
one
up
for you.
to?
Yeah, what are you up to? Is this a
I got one for
coup? Is
you.
this a conspiracy?
My mum,
No.
They ask you
my
that, I'll
mum went
probably
up the
say
road
yeah.
today. She went up the road at me and my dad and my mum. You know, my mum come back. She said, "You never guess what happened." I said, "What happened, mum?" She said, "Well, white man kicked me in the back of my leg." I said, "What?" She said he was in a wheelchair. and my mum was saying I was gonna knock him out. And I was laughing. And my mum was saying to my dad, I'm not the same person, am I? Because believe you me, my mum, you know, proper independent. Yeah, she's not gonna have it, you know. She's gonna, boy, there's gonna, lucky the guy, you know, luckily I wasn't there. But yeah,
Yeah.
he just kicked her in the back of her leg. He was a drunk. It's just getting crazy out here, you know. She's not hurt or anything, but it's the way my mum was saying, you know,
He's
if it
lucky.
was, she was gonna knock him out, you know.
Yeah.
I was laughing.
He's lucky.
Wheelchair wouldn't
Sorry.
have meant nothing to me.
Hello. Because my husband, you know,
You
my
just see
husband
the
was like,
wheelchair and the
Andrew,
man on the floor.
Andrew, you need to calm down. I'm like, I ain't calming down. I'm like, I just, no, don't.
Honestly.
And I think
Now,
sometimes
if
they
I
get
was at
comfortable.
work and they came in,
Would you pick
they
him up
saw
out the
me with
wheelchair and
someone.
just shake him? You know, just shake him like, you know the Men in Black when they got the little dog and he's shaking the dog.
Yeah.
He's saying,
Seen
"Give me
that
the
scene.
information."
But I would just tell them, I think sometimes, you know, that this colorism, even in America, you know, because I think sometimes I think the lighter your skin is, the less they think, the less radical you may be, or the less black you may think you are. And so I would constantly warn them, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go there. You don't want to say that in front of me. That's not good. Don't let this fool you. Don't get all caught up in this right here. Don't get it twisted. You don't know me off the clock. I got my mama in me, and if you don't want her to come out, you don't. Because I can do it real good now. You don't want to see that side of Andrew. I come here to work, put on this professional face because that's what y'all expect in this encounter. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to go that far because I'm off the clock. I'm somebody at home. I'm at home. And, you know, and I in my family we interact like our family. We're family. But if y'all want to go there, you don't want to see my
have you got
mama.
brothers and sisters?
I have a big family. I have 2 sisters and 5 brothers.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And
right.
we are all like this. We are all like this.
I've only got sisters, you see, and they're rough as anything. You know, they're rough.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I've got one brother, but my sisters, man, you know, and it comes from my family because even my grandma, she was a rough woman. You know, she wasn't. You know, she's Jamaican, but she was rough. I used to be scared of my grandma. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were too. My grandma was from the islands too, and she was a little short little thing, but she packed a wallop. She didn't, you know, grandma was grandma. And my mother was the same way. She was, you know, she said she was a strict disciplinarian, but I always told her she was a child abuser. That's a whole other issue. But you know,
which island was that, Andrea? Maybe you said before, but I don't recall. Which island was it?
The Bahamas. They're the Bahamas, and I think Grenada.
Okay.
Yeah. But enjoyed my childhood immensely. My grandmother was the bomb. She had, you know, had the blue hair, and you know, she would try to pay us some money to see if we can find dandruff. She always had a clean scalp, never could find it. We tried to dig her hair to death and all kind of stuff the kids would do to try to make some money because she, you know.
My grandma was a good woman. My grandma, she wasn't a bad person. She was a good, really hardworking lady, and she, you know, give me a lot of morals, made sure I behave myself, set me on the right track. Don't do this, don't do that. She was an amazing cook. My grandma had a certain cooking way that it when she passed away, it disappeared. My mum is a good cook. But it's just that taste. My grandma was a great cook. You know, people used to come from all over, and she was like a mother to a lot of people. There was only 2 of them, but my grandma had 11 children. So
Mhm.
I have a big So
But I will say, I will say, my dad was a good old country boy. My dad could cook up some stuff too. He would make stuff by scratch. My dad was a good old country boy. So I didn't pick up that country from him. I didn't. I didn't. He was trying to teach me how to skin and scale fish and cut fish, and I'm like, Dad, I'm a city girl. I don't want to do all that. I don't want to learn how to. I don't want to gut no fish. I would purposely make it hit the floor. I would do all kinds of stuff to get away from it. I said, you got 5 sons that you can teach that to, and if we ever need fish gutted, at least I know I got 5 brothers. I can go and learn that. But I was a straight up city girl. I wasn't trying to learn how to clean nothing.
Andrea, where did you study, and what did you study? Do you mind me asking?
I studied business administration. And that's what I was learned all kinds of all the kind of the school. I don't want to give all that out here.
No problem. Sorry. Okay,
but yeah.
Right. Okay, so you went into business, right?
Yeah. So I
was reading. Was it? Sorry to cut you. I don't know who was. Was it V Bennett or someone? I was looking. There was a lady I saw. She was what woman was it? And I was really. It was in the 1960s, you know. And she what was her? She was I think she got her doctorate. You know, there's so many black women that you know went to high levels of education, really highly educated, well qualified. You know, because it used to be the men used to fall back. Men mostly used to try to go to sports, right? Young black men more pushing to go into sports or stuff like that. Maybe not so much into the books, but the girls always were into academia as such. And I think America definitely's got to salute all the American sisters and brothers that have done their, you know, education. And there is some there's some, I mean, as you say, Colin Powell, you know,
the greatest example. Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice. That's the best example around.
Well, I mean, he did become general before he got his post in the Bush administration. So that was an accomplishment to be had, being a black man in the military. So I mean, you know, he earned what he earned before he became part of that administration. So, and that's not easy. Being, you know, going through the ranks in the military is not as easy as it sounds, right? It's just not. And to be black and a general, it's not easy. It's not easy.
What about the girl that there was a film with that girl? There was an American lady. I think she was. Oh, what's that? What's her name? Is it? Oh, there was a film recently. She was really smart. She was working. Was it something to do with the war, or the computering, or something like that? And she was in. You know, it was a black lady.
Was it the one about the woman that helped them figure out how to get into space or something?
About the NASA.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Hidden
so
Figures.
Who was that lady?
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but I know who you're talking about.
It's based on a true story. With Tara P. Henson and a few other Janelle Monáe or whatever. Yeah.
Henson, yeah. So there's some great people. I mean, America's got great orators. I mean, some of the greatest orators, great actors, great musicians. It's a great race of brilliant people in America. I suppose it's just I think the minority, you know, it's just space. Just a minority is bad, like everything. I think there's a majority is good people, you know. Maybe they're scared to come online, and senators just or you know, the HOK are just,
they're gonna dox them. People are scared to come to the panel now. It's not like before now, you know. But I understand it is what it is. It comes to the territory, but these guys are sick, man. You know, when they be putting up people's government name and talking about, I'm going to share your home address, blah blah.
But he would never do that to another American, would he? He's only doing that because that's out of order. He would never do that to anyone else.
He's gonna
Shaka.
get his karma. Don't worry, he's gonna get his karma. I don't want to say too much, but you know.
You see, Shaka don't want to really. Anyway, don't say much. But
He's gonna get his karma. You know.
No, because
you know, with that
he's
movie,
striking his channel. He strike Shaka channel. Strike
that was
Neo
messed
channel.
up. That was messed up.
Strike.
Man. Wow.
Strike his channel.
Neo, she
Oh,
cool
God.
with her, man, because she invited Sanetta on the panel. He was there for 5 hours.
5
he was
hours.
like at home. He was like at home, you know. So I'm like, let her do her thing. But and she also postponed once again her live stream about me and VB. That's basically the.
Is there one about you and VB? I see her
She
throwing
postponed
words.
She postponed it 3 times, so we have 4 different dates so far. But
Don't do it, Neo. Don't do it.
Oh man, you know, let the children play.
You know,
man.
Shaka and VB are they're there for you. You know.
Well, we used to be until she made it clear that she prefers SAR. So hey, everybody have their preference. I don't mind. You know, now that I know, I'm like, okay, all right, you know. but
so what about Enki? What about Enki and his the money that he's sending?
That was last year.
This man there, you know.
That was last year.
Geez,
but
man.
You know, I haven't seen the stream, but I was told that he was justifying, you know, the move, and apparently I haven't seen it, but apparently he said that he would go back over there because he's doing it for the people,
man.
You know? But then again, I haven't seen it. But you know, I did not really expect any explanation because that move was just not the best move. You know, I'm being very diplomatic. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, my focus is the rapist and the child molester. So that's the HOK. I mean, I wish I would have known. Like, you know, hey, you know, by the way, you know, back then, you know, but you know, I don't lose sleep over it. You know what I'm saying? I don't lose sleep over it. No.
I remember the first time. Sorry to cut. Sorry, Medea.
No,
sorry. Sorry, I thought I cut someone off. I remember when Shaka was. Sorry, I remember when Shaka came on the HOK, right? And I remember sitting back, you know, because I've got insomnia. I can't sleep well, so I was there watching it, and I saw Shaka come on, and as soon as Shaka came on the program didn't look the same. You know, everybody started to act differently, especially Sonetta. The whole program, there was like quiet, and I was like, yeah, I want to see more of this guy. I want to see this guy versus this guy, or I think Tazariak, and I think when he was with Tazariak, Shaka was beating up Tazariak, and Sonetta was defending him. Tazariak didn't want to challenge Shaka, so that one got me.
He didn't want to debate.
He didn't want to debate you. He ran. Then who was the next person before they started to have an argument? Was it that one? Was it Tazariak, or there was someone Jabari?
Before Pseudo Tazariak, you know, I had Teenager Yara, I had Wolf Napashada, Butler Reggie, what's his name, Lord Abba, and a few other people. I guess back then he wanted me to be like a difficulty or whatever, but you know, I gave them all the business. But then he figured, okay, next time
you knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, next time he figured,
you had receipts, Shaka.
Yeah,
you had receipts, bro.
Yeah, so he figured I'm gonna help people, but it was just him taking revenge because he didn't like what Ching Ching said. But like I said, I'm glad he did that. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad he did that because the funny thing though, the first time I was a guest over there, I brought up the molestation situation with, you know, the Mighty Hebrew. Then when he came on my panel, I asked him about it. He would answer. Then he was answering. So I'm like, oh, he's against that. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, then he's just defending them, which was funny. You know? But that's
he was on there the other day. I'm sure I see him there the other day.
Who?
The Mighty Hebrew.
Oh, man, he's a regular caller. Sanada said he slept at his house. You didn't see Sanada say that?
Yeah, well, I've heard him say, look, I heard him saying about his bum and all kind of things, right? About this woman, the bus driver. Sorry.
Jelisa.
Everybody, hold on for a minute. Right. Time out, everybody. Time out. Let me say this real quick while you're getting your pictures up there, brother. First thing I want to let the people know, I love my brother, the Mighty Hebrew. Me and Hebrew, we go through our little beefs and fight, and brothers fight. The Mighty Hebrew knows me personally. I know him. I know his family. He stayed at my house a few times. Him, his family, his children. So it's all love there. I just hate when my brother go on. Let's not forget the Mighty Hebrew nigga, who you get constantly on your channel, who's on all the Hebrews channel. Don't forget the Mighty Hebrew, the bald head nigga, been already incarcerated in prison for molesting a young child. He came home and they violated him again because the nigga was trying to fuck with another child.
So you seen Frankie when he's in good mood. Oh, that's my brother. He slept at my house. He's so funny. When he's angry at the dude, hey, man, you know this dude molested a young child. He went to prison. Get out and try to f another young child again. But the funny thing, the chronology is first that stuff that we heard last, and after that, oh no, we all good. You know what I'm saying? He slept at my house. But you know, and actually, I thought that Enki was gonna deal with that. Because Enki left a comment on my video saying that word on the street, you know, word in Harlem is that, you know, so-and-so's son was turned out because of some guests, you know, but, you know, I don't know if he addressed that, but from what I was told, it doesn't seem like he talked about that, you know, but I mean, you know, people do what they do, man. It is what it is. I don't sleep over it, man. I'm still
all right, well, look, man, I've had a great conversation with you guys. I'm gonna give my jaws a rest and leave.
It's been fun.
Ears recuperate.
It's been fun.
Bye, Andrea. Really nice to see you, Medea. Nice to see you,
Same
Shaka.
here.
Lovely as always, man. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's always a
really,
pleasure.
Really nice of you. All right, see you guys.
All right.
Bye. It's our brother from England. Now, let me just say this. Young Hero, I dropped the link. I don't know if you've seen it. I even tagged you. But Goodfella Nella, I don't know if you're here, because last time I didn't even understand what was going on. You were saying, like, you know, like I was dissing you or something, like, you know, so if you're there, feel free to come through. I really didn't understand what was going on. You know, I wasn't even talking about you. So if you're there, just holler, you know what I'm saying? Talk to your brother.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment on, I know you don't want to say her name, but I'm going to say her name.
Well, feel free.
Yeah, I was going to, so I know, you know, with you and Neil, I mean, so when all that went down and, you know, she allowed all that stuff to happen on her platform, what was peculiar to me is her saying she was trying to see how much time, or what if he was going to say something different. Okay, so he called you out your name multiple times. Right. And then you threatened to sue, and then he stopped calling you. So I was wondering, so why was it important for him to stop calling you? You've heard it before, you know, since they had to hear it some more. Why wasn't it okay for you to hear it some more? Right. You see what I'm saying? You want to put censorship on the names he was calling you.
For me, it doesn't matter because.
But then when it was him talking about his daughter again, then it became you didn't see the sense of urgency to allow him to come out there and defend himself. That's what was peculiar to me. I couldn't understand that way of thinking, because I mean, then right after you did that, then he said he didn't believe your story, and then you cut him off. So I was like, okay, so you allowed him on for the length of time he was on. He said even though you try to defend Shaka and say you shouldn't talk about his daughter that way, he was already, you were there to defend yourself.
My daughter, not me.
Yeah. You allowed him to talk about his daughter.
Doesn't look crazy because, you know, at this point.
Yeah, so I couldn't, that's the only thing I couldn't understand. So if you were just waiting to see if you heard something new, then once he said something about your daughter, that should have been a cutoff. But then again, like I said, if you were waiting to hear something new on his behalf and you waited 5 hours to see if you could hear it, then him calling you out your name, you heard it before. You know, if you've heard it once and you heard it again, it should have been okay for him to say it again. But no, you said something. If you say it again, I'm going to sue you for a hate speech, right? Then that's what she said. If he says calls her out of that name again,
she's mentioned several times.
She's going to sue him for hate speech.
Yeah.
So again, so if it was okay for you to put a halt to it by saying I'm going to sue you for hate speech, to me, anybody talking about somebody else's children or family should have been a cutoff point where you said, okay, you're wrong, and I have to end this conversation. It could have been something that simple. I mean, it didn't have to go on to for you try to catch him in a aha moment or whatever. It shouldn't. To me, it shouldn't have gone that far. And I try to understand where she was coming from too. I was trying to, rack in my head what she was trying to do, and and I couldn't just draw that complete conclusion that I was waiting for him to say something different. It doesn't matter when you know a person's behavior and you know their tendencies to do a particular thing. You ain't got to sit there and listen to all that. You can just hang that phone up or pop them off or do whatever. We're not obligated to have to listen to anybody's derogatory comments, especially as it concerns our children. That to me is where the line gets crossed. As adults, we can handle somebody calling us a whatever, a ban or we can handle that. We grown, but children don't. They don't deserve that. And even though you did speak up on his behalf and say, you shouldn't say that, after that, he wouldn't have been able to say no more, because behaviors, his behavior. And so, and then he turned around and said what he said about you it's just mind-boggling that people go to that extent to where they allowed a particular behavior, and at some point he was going to come back at you again, because that's just the behavior. All you got to do is keep looking at all those videos. His behavior is consistent. It hasn't changed over time.
It's the guitar.
So that's what my concern was with her. I mean, if it was okay for her to listen to him for 5 hours saying some of the stuff that he said as it concerned you and V. Bennett and so forth and so on, then she should be able to listen to another episode of him calling her out of her name. It's the same thing, right? To me, it's the same thing. If you allow somebody to say something derogatory about somebody else, then you shouldn't say, I'm going to sue you if you say something else, because it's just, you've heard it before.
It makes sense what you're saying, but when it's LGBT people, it's like, oh, no, you better not, I'm going to sue you. But, hey, it is what it is, what I'm saying? She's going to play like a guitar, because, shortly after, he said he doesn't believe her, so nah. But the funny thing is that, she's like, when I asked her, didn't you say that, you have no problem with him? No, I don't think I said that. I think I said, I don't hate him. And she clearly said that she doesn't really have an issue with the dude.
Yeah.
Somebody be calling her and they speak,
Yeah, so. And my thing is too, what he said about her was wrong too. The names he was calling her was wrong too. And she knew that was wrong, and she tried to put an end to that. And so but because she put that in him knowing he can't say that particular name anymore, didn't stop him from coming at her, calling her some other kind of name. So that's what I was, the point I was trying to make. Just because you stop that, he was still trying, and and unfortunate, you guys are at this point, unfortunately, because it'd be one thing if you weren't there to defend yourself. That would be one thing. You and V. Bennett were there to defend yourself, and it would have been on, like back in the day, like Donkey Kong. That's what they would say back in the day. But I hope she is thinking about how this played itself out over time, and then to try to project onto you something now of a lifestyle is, to me, you're just going overboard for something that's not that doesn't require that kind of energy, So I hope she does, because I think she's a nice young lady, and I think she means well overall. I really do. I think she means well overall, but sometimes we can get caught up in this YouTube world and lose our lose our way behind some stuff that's not necessary. So anyway,
and it's funny though, once again, that she said she hates Chris, but yet she keeps his secret. Then the guy that she didn't hate then, Sanetta, she talked about Sanetta's sister being gay. Now she hates Chris, she keeps his secret, but me, I don't know if she hates me, so it's for her to say, but she goes like Shaka Boo Boo and does the broken wrist, like, what are you trying to say? You know what I'm saying? But hey,
yeah,
I think she's waiting for something to be said, to cry about, because after all she did, she's acting like BB and I were wrong, which is very funny. And it's similar to Pum Pum Smash Walk. We have people wrong, instead of just admitting they're wrong and keep it pushing, then They're just more than stubborn. That's being disingenuous at this point. So I think she keeps postponing the stuff because she needs backup. She needs somebody else, at least one other person, maybe a bit more, and she wants to, hear something that we say. So you see that's what was said. That's unacceptable, and cry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hope that she's not doing that. I hope she's taking, this time to reflect. I'm hoping. I'm always, because they're younger than, younger, and they, we kind of do things sometimes, out of.
She's 38 though. We have 3-year difference. It's not like
I didn't know she was that old.
I thought she was like, like mid-30s, But what go ahead, Afimi.
I got a question. This woman y'all are talking about, she's LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
She said several times that she's gay on Pum Pum Smash channel.
And Sanetter referred to her by some
anti-gay terms, yes.
And then she calls you Shaka Boo Boo.
Mm-hmm.
What is the boo boo?
Well, she did that gesture of broken wrist, so she's implying that somehow, someway, I will be. Yeah, that's obviously what she's implying.
Him and V Bennett.
Well, actually, yeah, the title is like, she has my name and V Bennett, and she put boyfriends forever. I mean, she's taking it far, but hey.
So she's gay and doesn't like to get teased about being.
Make that make sense.
She didn't like the particular name she was being called.
Yeah, and then she's gonna, call me some name and imply stuff and have that title that clearly.
So it's like Lizzo then.
It's like what?
This girl Lizzo. You'd have to know the current news, boy, to get that one.
Well, I heard she's accused of forcing people to, eat some bananas that were inside of some vaginas or whatever. But I heard she just denied that.
Oh my God.
That weird stuff, but also that she fat shames people. And she's someone who's known for
Lizzo fat shame people?
Lizzo, that's part of the whole nasty thing that's going on right now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That part I didn't hear.
Make
okay.
It makes sense.
Yeah, because everybody in the mama have been people call fat shaming, but hey man, it is what it is, man. Can't say anything about the celebrities, you know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna have a hate train on you, you know what I'm saying? Hey. I haven't heard her defending rapists, child molesters. I haven't heard her having the #1 protector of child molesters on her channel for 5 hours. So until so far so good.
Yeah, but I hope she's just reevaluating, and that's what I hope. I mean,
I'm like really it is what it is. But when people are wrong, they ain't gonna do no magic trick and abracadabra and act like I'm wrong. Come on, man. I ain't God. I made mistakes in my life. I've been wrong.
Yeah.
Now,
you're not.
What happened was foul. It was really foul. It was betrayal. It was disrespectful.
I agree.
And for her to try to spin it, and hey, she can do what she wants. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I mean, everybody in the mama can see that she's not my enemy. I haven't made live streams about her, going at her and all that. You know what I'm saying? Because we were in school, and I don't really like to go against people that I was school with once. You know what I'm saying? Because the brother Reggie, he told me F you several times. I know I said that before. I let it slide. But then when he said he's not a Captain Saver HOE talking about me, I was like, okay, all right then. F you then. You know what I'm saying? So, and then Bobby Banger, first time he told me French, I said, oh, it's like that. I didn't trip. But then he continued, he feels like he has a trophy, but Bobby Banger, hey, you're looking horrible, brother, and Bobby Banger, brother, on Kaki the God Killer. How come you ain't talking to polite, punk sucker? Oh, pull up my boy. Man, you look like a sucker for it, but it's okay. I guess you're built like that, man. You built like a sucker.
Yeah.
And we seen that with Ching Ching. See, now he was very pacified. He disappeared for a while. You know what I'm saying? These people running their mouth and all that. You know what I'm saying? It's not about who's the strongest physically, but those people, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about a month to go, and then that stuff's gonna crash, and then the madness and the chaos is gonna disappear. You know what I'm saying? And that's it, man.
Yeah. It's just these YouTube streets can be kind of sketchy and dangerous every now and then, because I mean, for people not to realize this is going to be out there in the stratosphere for a long time. People have to go back and see all this stuff and You know, there's just a way that, you know, people should just know, you know, there's just certain things there's certain lines you don't cross and certain things you don't say about people. And I mean, it's just amazing. Like I said, I don't know none of these people. I just know them based upon them coming on your show. I mean, I you know, even her, I didn't know anybody, you know. And so to see how people can just so, you know, just deviate so quickly, you know, on certain things that shouldn't happen. You know, you come on somebody's panel, they when they give you an opportunity to speak about your situation, circumstance, and had, you know, there should have been some type of, as in somebody else's world say, decorum that would have allowed you to say, okay, enough is enough. I don't even want my ears to hear no more. I mean, it's just too much. It's just too much. I mean, I don't think I know once, if I heard it the first time, that would have been enough for me. I couldn't allow my ears to continue to keep hearing over and over and over again. That would not have happened. I mean, that's verbal abuse, even on her, to hear a grown man saying something else about somebody else's child. That's verbal abuse in her ears. Didn't even have to be somebody else's ears. And those of us who were listening, it was verbal abuse in our ears if we stayed on it for that full 5-hour period. I couldn't last past the first time. So it's just too much. It's too much.
And like you said, the future generation will have all that documented. It was like 6, 7, 8 months at most. That was something, man. That was something, but it is documented, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, you know. Some people, it's just sad. It's just sad, but we have to be able to be selective, you know. We have to be selective, because when I see all these groupies on the panel over there, you know what I'm saying? I remember that Brother La dude, you know, Brother La LA. Dude is a Muslim, man. Came on my panel capping facade, and, you know, since then he's been like a regular caller. You know, I guess he has priority amongst the callers. But the dude is Muslim. And, you know, once again, ICPK's leader, General Yohana, prayed for the destruction of Islam. So those guys are so funny to me. And even the Hebrew Israelites, you know, whether it's ICPK or FOP or any other camp. So I never call their God a bipolar mother effer. He said that God is weak. So those guys don't even stand on their own principles. On their own principles, their own God, their own Bible. They don't even follow it. They don't even stand by it, just to cap on that panel. And when I see that Apostle Zaquan, who's like reaching 17 years old, I'm like, damn, some people are just gone and doomed. It reminds me of that elder from Bermuda who's a grandfather, and he sees Pum Pum Smash Rockwell talking about he wants to do a restraining order, and he's still capping. Some people can be grandfathers and they can still be some damn groupies, you know, and it's just sad. It's just sad. But that's life. But anyway,
yeah, where's Young Heru at? I thought he was coming on.
Yeah, I guess he changed his mind. You know, he must. I don't know.
Yeah. Where you at, Young Heru? Thought you was coming on. Donnie, where you at? You going back in the cut. You get yourself out here. Tell me smile. You can get yourself out here.
You have the link here.
One of the stories I wanted to share then.
Yeah, feel free, brother.
Was when I agreed with the brother that was in the UK that
Jay.
Like I don't talk about political stuff, religious stuff, and whatnot at work, any place that I work. But when I was a truck driver over the road, I'd run into some folks sometimes that would want to have certain kinds of conversations. And this was different because when you're over the road, you're only dealing with people from other companies. You're not dealing with nobody from your own company. The only time you see people from your company is if you go to the terminal, which I did maybe once every couple of months or something like that. But I had a guy a couple of years back when it was the big thing in the news. I had a white guy. I was backed into a dock. I just came out from the building, from giving him the paperwork and whatnot. And he came and he parked like right next to me back to a dock. And he asked me about what do I feel about the Confederate flag. And the experience for me just confirmed, like, you hear people say from time to time that the racism thing, that it's white people in positions of power or whatever that convinced your regular everyday white people to become racist. And I've always said, nah, the stuff that them folks say, the ones that are in them top ranked positions and whatnot, the stuff that they say is for black folks to just they're always trying to like Jedi mind trick black people, basically. I don't really think that they have to do much convincing of white people to become racist or whatever. But he was doing what I call a safe Negro check, basically. He needed for me to just kind of from all the stuff that was going on in the news at the time, where people wanted to take down the Confederate flags from, everywhere publicly, basically, that it was flying like at the Mississippi State Capitol and stuff like that. That stuff was having this dude feeling, he was going through some cognitive dissonance, and he needed me to assuage those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was just like, he went with the line about how it's just culture, it's not hate, it's not about hating anyone or whatever, it's just Southern culture. So I was like, well, I said, let me just say, I don't feel the way about that flag that I think most Black Americans feel because of the history that they have, that surrounds that whole thing. Me, I see that flag and it doesn't really mean anything to me, except that I get a little bit more on guard than I usually am when I see it. But I said to him simply also that whatever you fought for under that flag is what that flag stands for, period. It's as simple as that.
I like the term you use, safe Negro check. But the thing is that, sometimes you have to have, I'm not saying like you should have had, but sometimes like when you have the saying, for every action, equal and opposite is a reaction. And that type of clapback, like, oh, you want to be cool with the Confederate flag? All right, we're going to have a flag. Now turn the flag, not turn the day. How you feel about that?
Well, that's why Marcus Garvey created the RBG flag. It's specifically about that, because white folks used to tease Black people back in the day about not having their own flag or whatever, because they considered, the American flag and the Confederate flag to be their thing. There's like pictures of the civil rights movement when you had a little child, marching, involved in the marches, whatever, they were waving a flag and got white folks snatching the flag away from them because that don't belong to you, But you see, that was my main answer to him was, if you have people fighting under the banner of that flag to maintain slavery, then that's what the flag represents. Simple as that. Just like you had folks fighting under the banner of that Nazi flag or whatever to try to exterminate people, then that's what it represents. Simple as that.
Yeah. And the thing about it is too, they want us to forget, our history and stuff that happened to us here, but they don't want to forget, the Alamo. They don't want to forget, 1776. They don't want to forget none of that. They don't want to forget the Holocaust, even though it didn't take place in America, but they still want us to be reminded. They want, just like that brother was out there on Shaka's page the other day and say, we need to stop talking, Black people need to stop talking about slavery. Well, you better tell everybody else stop talking about their stuff.
And that's a Pan-African. We have to get over it or get over it.
To me, my response to that always was like, you've got reminders of the past all around.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You have counties named after dudes that was in the KKK and the Confederate
Lynchburg.
Army. You know what I mean? You got cities named after them. You have the slave owners on the money for every day for people. It's everywhere. It's on the
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Exactly.
Street named after them.
Yeah, that's why, like I said, when my boss told me to get over it, when they when they kind of something hit me in my head, I'm like, oh no, we ain't gonna play this game. You ain't gonna tell me to get over an insult. No, bruh. It just kind of bring, yeah. You know, but they're so quick to, you know, like I said, I don't have time for all that. I'll bring up all kind, when they start talking, I let them bring up the subject. I don't bring up the subject to, you know, my white friends or white people that I know. I don't bring up the conversation, but if you're gonna go there, we're gonna go there. If you want to say, I remember years ago that there was a newspaper reporter that wrote an article about Bill Cosby and who was Cornel? Was it Cornel West? Back in the day, talking about their book that they wrote together, or going on a tour, you know, telling us to pull, you know, black men to pull their pants up and all sort of kind of stuff, and blah 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 blah. I wrote to him, and I'm like, you know, your comments sound more like an insult than they sound like a compliment, because you all want to go around here and parade like this stuff is not happening in your community. What would have been better is for you to go into your community and talk to your people about what y'all are doing that's causing some of these problems to happen. I said, because over there, you assume, you're wanting us to assume that your families, you know, everybody's coming from a you know, 2-parent household and stuff like that. And you know, that's not happening. We're just to blame for all that stuff. And he comes back and he says like, well, you know, I'd like to, you know, engage in this conversation, but you know, I'm insulted that you said that you called me racist. I said, I didn't call you one. I said what you did. So he tried to change it again. No, I didn't call you a racist. I said what you said came across that way because you all want to act like this stuff is not happening. He says, well, you must not have seen my article about the rich white kids in Plano, you know, having these problems, right? And I'm like, wait just a second, right? I'm like, the difference between those rich kids and everybody else is they're not trying to help themselves. Their parents help them, right? Yeah. I agree with Bill Cosby because, you know, as long as black people don't want a handout, I said, black folks have never said we wanted a handout. That's just what you want to call it because it sounds better coming out of your mouth to make you feel better about you saying, I agree with so-and-so and so-and-so. But at the end of the day, those rich white kids weren't trying to help themselves. Their parents sent them to the, you know, addiction centers and stuff like that to get help. It's not like they were saying, Mommy and Daddy, I know I have an addiction problem. Please send me. No, they're not doing that. Their parents had the money to send them someplace. So don't do that. Don't insult us like that. You know, you're not going to do that. You got just as many problems in your community as we have in our community. And as a matter of fact, the drug problem in your community is a whole lot worse because y'all are doing all kind of drugs. You're doing legal drugs, which is the prescription drugs, which you think is okay. Then you got all this drugs in the street that you're doing. So don't do that. Don't make it sound like we're the scum of the earth when you know that's not the case. So
everything gets reframed.
Exactly.
When it's black folks that they're talking about, the biggest killers in this world wear suits, but 3-piece suits don't get demonized and stigmatized as, you know, the thing that criminals wear. Or even if you want to talk about like the mafia and how they're always wearing their colorful Hawaiian shirts and whatnot, or the leather jackets, none of that stuff gets criminally stigmatized. But they want to, you know, there was always this talk a few years back about trying to outlaw sagging. They had that story about a couple of brothers in Tennessee, I think Memphis, that got arrested for wearing do-rags in a mall.
That's crazy.
Stupid stuff, especially nowadays too, when people bring up the like really actually trying to talk about criminalizing sagging pants or blah blah blah. I'm like, y'all are defending dudes wearing dresses nowadays, man. How y'all gonna have a problem with sagging pants?
Yeah, didn't they try to pass that in? I know they tried it in Florida because I remember one of my cousins were saying that she liked that. I'm like, what do you mean you like that? You know who they're targeting.
I remember,
you know who they're targeting
about that exact story where they were trying to do it in Florida. They did it in somewhere in Louisiana, and I remember seeing a story about the statistics of it, and like 99% of the people that were getting in trouble with the law, it was black folks. So I'm like, this was predictable. I mean, this is basically like a black law. There's been plenty of white folks out there that dress in ways that show their underwear. You know, from plumbers
Show the crack of their, they ain't the underwear.
The plumber butt
and
crack
the
is
underwear with them.
notorious.
Yes.
They
You know,
just the
yeah.
underwear.
Yeah.
The crack of the ass.
And that's
Yeah.
worldwide.
Ever since I came up to America, I saw white folks in Walmart and Target and whatnot in what do you call it, the night clothes, pajamas. And
Pajamas.
stuff. Women like the girls, the white women are wearing like men boxers as shorts out there like that and whatnot. So they have those issues too, but they in Louisiana in that area, they just arresting only black people for it basically.
Yeah.
Or
And
I don't know if it's arresting, but they were getting in trouble with the law.
And they used to have gangbangs. You know, I heard that Bush stopped a few because they have some records. You know how many guys they sleep with and stuff like that. And there's another thing I want to say, but it has escaped me. But it may come back to me. But yeah,
it's just like
the slagging is too much, But some people are gonna have gangbangs, what I'm saying, all kind of weird movies like The Purge. I haven't seen The Purge, but movies about just killing for the sake of it. It's just, and you have the Ku Klux Klan, what I'm saying, who have their rallies and some of them gather and doing the Heil Hitler stuff, praising the Nazis, what I'm saying. But the sagging is gonna be a problem. But go ahead.
You have. I mean, there were a few years ago, like 2016 or something like that. There was a big shootout in broad daylight in Waco, Texas, between some biker gangs.
Yeah, I remember that.
About 200 people got arrested. Nobody went to prison over that. There was 9 people were killed, 17 or 18 people injured. Broad daylight. Nobody went to prison for that.
Yeah.
And there's all kind of examples we can throw out there.
Yeah.
Where these people, like their medical establishment, the insurance especially, they have it set up where upwards of 50,000 people die every single year unnecessarily just because of how their for-profit healthcare system is set up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if black people were the main ones profiting off of something like that, it wouldn't be legal.
Right.
But I see stuff that they do like widespread, and at best, you might get like up in New York when they finally made the stop and search thing illegal a few years back. Not I shouldn't even say it that way. Not that they made it illegal. It was already illegal. What they did was they had a trial where they ruled that the practice was unconstitutional, meaning it went against something that's already laid out in the Constitution that you cannot do. But nobody went to prison for it.
Yeah.
And that's how they do with a lot. Like you'll hear about a lot of stuff that they do systemically, widespread across the country or something, and they have these trials where they rule something unconstitutional and nobody gets into any trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, and Donnie, I agree with you in your little comment that we need to take accountability, and that's what I was trying to tell that newspaper reporter. Yeah, we need to take accountability for our actions, but you go clean your house up too. Don't come over here and try to jump on the bandwagon over here and tell us, we don't mind helping people as long as people help themselves. Like I told them, we're not asking you for no hand up or no handout. We want you to treat us fairly and do what's right by what the laws say that you're supposed to be doing. So I'm not trying to excuse us of any accountability. I'm sure you weren't just talking to me, but I'm just saying I wasn't trying to just say that it's just us. Yeah, but at the end of the day, yeah, we understand there's house cleaning to be done. I'm surely not saying that. And at the same time, when you think about all this stuff, like when you were talking about earlier about the people wearing suits that that are committing more, my husband worked for this company years ago, and the CEO of that company put a freeze on their stock options and stuff, took all that stock money, wiped out people's livelihoods, the whole 9 yards. People committing suicide left and right.
White collar
because
crime.
all that stuff. He wound up going to jail for it, and he thought his sentence was just too harsh. Oh man, and you come out, you got a target on your back. It's best for you to stay in there. But people don't look at those types of crimes. That's you stole from multiple people at one time, and you wreaked havoc in people's lives at one time, one fell swoop, you did it. If you're going to rob somebody, you got to go either house to house, store to store, walk up on somebody. That takes a upfront, you got to be up and personal with somebody. But to do that big wide crime like that, all you got to do is, do what he did, stop, take your money out. And, but they don't look at stuff like that. Like you said, it's white collar crime, and, doesn't carry, it's not as bad. But yeah, even in 2008, when all the bottom fell out, my boss knew somebody who went to some place and committed suicide because he lost a lot of money. And he's like, I don't understand. He could have just wrote it out. I said, that's easy for you to say. You don't know what he had his money tied up in, right? So, but they do that stuff, and it's, hey, it's just something to do.
You know what the biggest form of burglary is in America?
What is it?
It's by cops. What do they call it? Civil asset forfeiture.
Yes.
It's responsible for more theft basically than all other forms of burglary combined in the country. Just cops taking people's stuff.
That's bananas.
But nobody goes to jail for it. Nobody gets a trial. None of these cops are getting nothing. So it doesn't. That's the thing about their statistics. It doesn't even it's a crime, but nobody's getting charged. None of them.
Yeah.
And then even more than that, the biggest form of theft that they have in the country, that's bigger than all of the forms of theft combined, including what the cops do, is wage theft by employers.
Yep.
But none of them are going to prison for it. So you don't see it in the statistics like that. But they got us up in there though for breaking into a car or they got us.
Yeah, they got that. And we not only have the police killing people unjustifiably on video, color, nice quality, HD. We have them planting drugs on people, and they don't go to jail. We see them literally putting drugs into people's pocket. Like, hey, what's this?
You got to have nationwide and worldwide protests to put them to get charged for murders that they're committing on video.
Yes, exactly.
So now think about that for
Derek
a second.
Chauvin.
Yeah, think about it. Yeah, same thing with Ahmaud Arbery's killers. It was on video, and you had to have nationwide protests to get them dudes charged. Now, if that's what it takes to get white folks charged with crimes that they're committing on video, what do you think's going on in their neighborhoods when it comes to crimes that ain't caught on video?
Right.
Are they being more vigilant, in prosecuting them for crimes that we don't see them committing?
Yeah.
They would get a pass.
I can't trust this.
Yeah, because you can take that all the way back to Rodney King when you saw them beating the hell out of him. People like, oh, don't believe you didn't see what you saw. Don't believe what you saw. That didn't happen that way. Yeah. I mean, it's just all kind of crazy stuff. But again, we know that we got work to do in our communities, and we need to do what we need to do in our communities to make our communities better. And that's just it's understanding, and we need it, and it's the hard work that has to get done. And at the same time, that doesn't mean that you don't call out the injustice that comes from the other side, where they don't want to see how, the impact. Because, one of my coworkers said to me when we were talking about, them finally coming in and not using Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's pictures on their products anymore because, they didn't get permission from the families to do that. They just did it and made all this money. And, don't know if any of the families ever got paid for that, or the lady, what's her name? The one who they're using all her, she's been dead for a long time, but they're still using her cells to do all this research, didn't get the family's permission and stuff like that. Yeah, that's who it is. And I was telling him, and he says, well, people today, the people today don't owe you that. I'm like, what are you talking about? There is generational wealth that has been passed down because of this stuff that they did to Black people that they did not get paid for. So using their image and profiting off of all of that, that is where they stole from those families. I said, so I don't know what you're talking about. I said, because everybody that has money doesn't mean that they work to get that money. Walt Disney's daughter said, I didn't work to this. I inherited this wealth. I didn't work to get it. So everybody that's wealthy didn't work to get it. They got that stuff handed down. and now they're reaping the benefits of the generational wealth that was handed down to them. But now you're telling us we don't deserve, or we haven't earned, or it wasn't these people. Anybody benefiting off their grandparents' wealth from back in the 1800s, 1700s are just as guilty as the people who did it back then. I mean, it's not their fault, but it's still something that needs to be rectified. So,
yeah, it reminds me of a documentary that I saw about the slave trade, and I think we were talking about Bristol, and there were some people who were descendants of those slave owners. But not only the slave owners were making crazy money, you know, the people were manufacturing chains and basically all the stuff that those slave owners needed, you know, not only the people on the boats for the transportation, but, you know, the people on the land, you know, when they had those slaves. And you know, in Europe, you know, people made some crazy money, you know. And but hey, reparations is out of question for them, you know, the sense of justice now.
Right. Or even like,
yeah,
or even like that land that, you know, like some black people own the land, some beachfront property in, you know, California. They bought some because white folks didn't want them on the beach. Next thing you know, the government comes in and says eminent domain, and they left it sitting there for years. They didn't do nothing with it. They just didn't want black folks to go over there and to go to the beach. And now, and then they wanted to pay the family $75 million. I said, man, that's a drop in the bucket. They ain't no telling how much that stuff was, how much money they would have made. And for them to arbitrarily come up with a number to try to satisfy the years that you didn't make money off of that land over there is just asinine. And it's insane that they keep doing stuff like that. I saw like a YouTube video not too long ago where this black family has land. I don't know where it's, I think I said this already. The dad, a nephew, and the son have land, and now the city's trying to do eminent domain and put a railroad through their land. I mean, it's this constant trying to take from us what doesn't belong to them by using these types of words and types of government policies that allow them to do stuff like that. To me, is just wrong, you know. But and we need to address all of that.
Yeah, it goes back to the 40 acres and the mule, you know. And I like that name from Spike Lee's production. That was not given, you know. I mean, it's just so messed up. And you know, for those who don't know, and I think maybe some well, I think some from the things that, you know, it was British colony first, you know, because before it became the US. But even in French West Indies, slave owners got compensation for the enslavement, you know, for the money that they would not be able to make. It's just crazy. They basically paid off the people who were enslaving and raping and killing and torturing. It's bananas.
Yeah,
you know? But then especially about justice.
Yeah, because they did that, and that's what the French did in Haiti, right? They made them pay all that.
Not just Haiti, you know, Guadeloupe, Martinique,
yeah,
you know, those Caribbean islands, you know, that are still French territory today. You know, I mean, Haiti is no longer French territory because they successfully, you know, kicked them out. You know, but the sad thing is that, you know, France threatened them with war again, and then Haiti signed and agreed to pay 150 million francs, which is most likely worth many billions today. And they took the loans from the French banks, and, you know, with the interest. That's how Haiti became poor. Haiti became poor because of France. And there's a French Asia that I think maybe in my community timeline on YouTube. But, you know, there's a French journalist, you know, I don't remember the name, but she was from one of these journal, and she was talking about that. You know what I'm saying? And a few others also I mentioned that. But, you know, they wait so long before they talk very openly about that. You know what I'm saying? I remember there was the organizers years back, you know, that's over a decade ago. They had the auction of objects and letters, you know, like chains about the slave trade, you know. Some organization, you know, for the memory of the, you know, the enslaved people, they went over there and basically, you know, prevented that stuff from happening, you know. I mean, it's so disrespectful, it's crazy. You would never have an auction about, you know, what they call Shoah in France, you know, and other parts of Europe. You know, people use the term Holocaust, you know, in the US, you know. You don't have no auction about, you know, the Holocaust, like here it is, you know, some stuff that used to belong. But when it comes to respect, it's just amazing. And the sad thing is that, you know, what they like to do all the time is get some token black folks who's going to talk, who's going to make their talking points. You know what I'm saying? You know, now Candace Owens, I don't really know where her mind is at now, but I was so surprised that she's been having some interview with Andrew Tate, or and I'm like, okay, all right, but Kanye is going through some stuff. It's obvious, but you have some people every now and then, Jesse Lee Patterson, and even Tommy Sotomayor. You know what I'm saying? I heard he's been doing OnlyFans, but it's usually like that. But what can we do?
Yeah, just keep speaking the truth, no matter how how it comes, how it comes across. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well, sister.
Yeah, my headphones get ready to go out. But yeah, it's just we have to just keep speaking the truth, because just the mindset of from the religious point of view has a lot of people still, up in here having difficulties, right? Because we want to believe something. Yeah, we want to believe, it's
mental slavery.
Yeah, and it's just mind-boggling. Like I said, I tried my best to listen to some of that and partake, and it's just exhausting, because something, for me, starting in the mid 90s, that's when it came alive to me. It's like something just ain't setting right. Then I read all these books. I had all kind of books I was reading. I just constantly like, this, first I, thought, well, Jesus was black because that's how, you read those particular scriptures and stuff that, okay. So when they came out with the article that said, well, when white folks said Jesus was black, and I went and talked to one of my neighbors about it, she says, well, I don't see why we're making such a big issue out of it. I said, well, then why'd y'all make such a big issue to make him white?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Y'all want to say that now that it's after the fact, but now you want to say, well, I don't see what the big deal is, but y'all have gone throughout history trying to repaint, redo everything to fit your narrative. But now you want to say you don't see what the big deal is. I said, because, if we want to, and I told her then, I said, if indeed he was black, how you going to hide a white child and all the black folks? How you going to do all that? And they're like, oh, yeah, you can't. So y'all stop lying. He couldn't be white, because he would have stood out like a sore thumb, and they would have found him. He would have been easily be found. And well, I don't see what the big deal is. Well, yeah, it's easy for you to say that now. And so even from there, it's been a journey. Let me tell you. So I gotta say, it's been a journey, and I'm glad to be on this other side, because there's so much to learn, and I'm glad I wasn't one of those people who decided to shut down and think that I knew everything and that I know everything. And, because if we're still, there's people who think, you get to a certain age, you stop learning. No, you don't. We should be learning till the day we die, because there's stuff that's out there that we just don't know about. And if we don't take the time to, like stuff that, like I said, when we were growing up, all we heard was feed the children. We thought, they made us feel like, the only thing that happened in Africa was a bunch of poor kids who had flies, big bellies, and orange hair. That's the images that they kept putting on the TV here, and they still do that to some degree. And then you got these.
When I was in primary school, they even asked us to bring some rice to send it to Somalia. When I was a kid, Somalia equaled Somalia and Ethiopia. It's equal, starving, skinny, skin to the bone.
Yeah,
the flies, they but then eventually they stopped that because it was so cliche, but they did that, we had our share of brainwashing, what I'm saying.
Yeah, and they have pastors that go to Haiti, and they go to Africa, and they want to come back and say, we got to do all this, we got this drive that's going on. Man, we don't need you going over there to do. Y'all are the ones who cause all that havoc over there. Don't come back and tell us, what's happening when you caused the thing to happen, and now you want us to pay you to go back and fix what you broke. You broke it. You go back and fix it on your own. So it's I like I said, it's just been a journey, and I'm glad I'm on the other side of trying to understand what our people brought to the table before any of this came into existence. And it's just been refreshing for me. It's been fun. That's all I gotta say. It's been fun, and I'm glad that I am where I am today. It's been fun. The journey has been it's been great, because now I have something to leave to my kids and my grandkids, that they know that we've been on this plight of studying and trying to get a better understanding of who we are, because we've been sold a bill of goods about who we are. and what we contribute around the world. They're trying to make it sound like we didn't do a damn thing and they didn't learn anything from us. Or, I read some book where it says that Queen Elizabeth or one of them didn't take a bath for like 13 years. I'm like, what the hell? They think she's holy.
Some European royals, they were like that,
Yeah, like,
are you? The French King Louis XIV. I mean, Louis, you pronounce the S in English, but we don't in French. Louis XIV, who is probably the most majestuous or rich or famous French king. I was told that he had his first bath when he was like maybe a teenager, like the first bathe, like one arm and then the other arm, something like that. But that's something. Even Napoleon, I was told about, how he used to write his lady and ask her not to bathe. So when he would see her again, he like the batsman. I mean, it was just bananas.
Just sick.
Powders on themselves, and of course the perfume is like. They were like cats or something like something.
White enslavers themselves documented the how often enslaved Black people used to bathe because it was so strange to them.
Shaka, I'm gonna jump out and come back in because my headphones get ready to pop off. I'm gonna jump out and come back in.
No problem.
Yeah, they would see us bathing in the morning and bathing in the evening, and they thought it was so weird that they had to document it.
It's crazy. Now, to answer Donnie Williams, he asked, what are your thoughts on Candace? I didn't know her until she started speaking regarding George Floyd's family, you see, and she was threatening to sue the family, and I thought it was really off. I mean, you have a family grieving because they lost somebody. And then it seems to me like she's just, criticizing Black folks for the sake of criticizing Black folks, because I'm like, you want to criticize Black folks, fine. But Black folks are not the only one to be criticized. So why don't you criticize? That's my thing. You know what I'm saying? That's my thing. I mean, I criticize some stuff that Black folks do that I disagree with, but I don't criticize Black folks only. I criticize, white, Europeans, Asians, Christians, Muslim, Jewish. You know what I'm saying? But when you have those people like that, it's like Tommy Sotomayor. Tommy Sotomayor was criticizing mainly Black folks, particularly Black women. But hey, to each his own, man. I don't lose sleep over her. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. The good thing now with the social media and the tools that we have is that we can easily, when I say easily, it depends on our stance, but we can have a large platform we have without dealing with the traditional media, whether it's radio, TV, or newspaper. And that's great. And we should take advantage. But what I don't like is those fakers, and we know who the fakers are, who be false flagging. You know what I'm saying? And just slowing us down, But go ahead. You wanted to speak, Afimi?
I was just saying I don't listen to Candace. I think most Black people, I mean, if you don't like what somebody's saying, just don't listen to them. It's as simple as that. I don't listen to her. I already know what she's all about. So I won't be doing like the young lady I was talking about earlier, listening to Candace Owens, expecting for her to say something different from what she normally says eventually.
Yeah, some new rules that people make up, some new principles, some new talking points. It's always like that. It is what it is, man. But that thing though, like once again, I gave the example of Pum Pum Smash Rockwell. It's just amazing, man. Somebody is just wrong. He won't just admit he's wrong. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I don't know who the Rockwell person is, but I hear you all the time say Pum Pum Smash Rockwell. So where does that come from, man?
Oh, I thought you knew him. He's a guy from the rap group Hieroglyphics. He's known as Casual as a rapper. He's from the Bay, from Oakland. And we used to be cool, man. But I found out he was hating on me for a long time. But he basically said that the Hyksos are fake. He had a video entitled "The Hyksos Are Fake." They made that up, and he also claimed that Kush is not in Nubia. So I made a video, very diplomatic, entitled, "Oh, I appreciate that, Donnie. It's been a long time you didn't get any super chat. Thank you for that." The video was entitled "Hyksos Are Not Fake" or "Hyksos Are Real." They didn't make that up. And actually, first I said, "Give to Pum Pum Smash Rockwell." Hyksos are, obviously didn't have Pum Pum in the title, but I like that nickname. So I basically showed that it's not fake, it's real, and dude got mad, And instead of just admitting he's wrong, I mean, even him saying that Kush is not in Nubia, he's still trying to push that. So all you have to do is say, no, my bad, I'm wrong. I didn't expect him to apologize and say, oh yeah, thank you for showing my mistake. No, but come on, man, like this is some limits now, But
yeah, like I said, this has been a true learning experience being on here for the last 6-7 months. It's been, like I said, I just to hear the backstory of or the back whatever of all this is just it's just crazy. It's like, what the hell? What the hell did you did,
yeah.
Did you come out here for? Like, because that's why I don't try to talk about the person themselves, the people, because I don't know them. If we're just talking about the behaviors, I'll talk about the behavior, but I don't know them, so I won't address them personally like that. Just their comments, if they make certain comments and stuff like that, I'll comment on the comment. But I don't know them like y'all know them, because like I said, I haven't been out here, and I'm not gonna, go in on nobody or say anything bad about them because I don't know them like that, right? So the comments and the behaviors is what I would I would put my 2 cents in on and just leave it at that. But it's crazy. My husband called, he just came up here just a few minutes ago because he's getting ready to leave. He's like, so baby, are you on your soap opera today?
Soap opera, yeah, that's a good
like, what's happening?
It.
Yeah, what's happening on those YouTube streets? I said, you just have because I tell them stuff that's going on and how we, what we're talking about and stuff. And I said, it's not always that, I have to tell him, remind him. I said, today we're talking politics and all some other stuff. I said, it's not always that. I said, but when that comes up, it is hilarious. I said, because especially, the funny part is when you play back their words, and they go up in arms as if it wasn't spoken. That's they clipped that, they chopped that. No, no.
Yeah, that's what they said.
It didn't happen that way, and so that's the funny part, because I'm like, man, I ain't never seen people, make a U-turn so quickly on what they said. You know what you said. Ain't nobody gotta lie about that. You know what you said, right?
Yeah, they're complaining about us playing what they're saying.
Yeah, but then they do that to, they'll do that to you, and they'll make fun of whatever. But I'm like, okay, you're trying to play this, you're playing the same game. I mean, it's not a game with you. I'm not saying that, but you're doing the same thing. You're trying to, they'll take a little clip and try to make it just expand it, like the other day with the phone and the text message and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, some doesn't look right, but we don't know for sure.
French Ninja.
Yeah, but we don't know. I mean, we don't know for sure, but based just on that, the excitement was too much for it to be something so serious, right? So that's how you can almost tell that somebody can't be telling the truth about stuff because of how they react to what they are doing.
Yeah.
So it's just because when you know that you're telling the truth, you ain't got to get loud. You don't have to get excited. You don't have to cuss nobody out. You don't have to call nobody's names. You ain't got to call nobody's family names. When you know you're telling the truth, you don't have to go to that extent. You just speak it, and it is what it is, right? But when you know you're lying, you got to say everything you can to distract from the conversation, and and that's where all that other. I'm not saying it's not, like when somebody's saying something to you every now and then, you gotta come back and cuss them out a little bit. And I get all that. I understand that part. But I'm just saying that's not your norm from the times I've been out here. I just know it happens every now and then. And then when Young Heru comes out here, he takes it a whole nother level.
Young Heru, Ching Ching.
Yeah, Ching Ching has been, and and I like a Femi on here, and then everybody who comes out here, it's a good thing to hear all these different perspectives, because like I said, y'all know them, and actually I didn't even know that that y'all didn't know about him, like that you found out the same way everybody else was finding out. I didn't know that either. I thought y'all knew all this stuff. I didn't know y'all knew, because when we played that clip of him, y'all just telling Sana to be careful. Don't, be careful. Don't, people trying to do, and then boom, bam, and it seemed like like the bottom fell out. It was like all this stuff, and then Ching Ching came. I'm like, hey man, I got receipts. I'm like, oh my God, what in the world what just happened? What just happened? It was crazy. I was like, I'm like, okay. So I tell my friends I'm out here. I have a lot of fun coming here because I like the energy y'all have. I like the young people energy, and I kind of keeps your brain sharp, and listening to some of the stuff you guys saying is about history and all that kind of stuff. It's just great. I love it.
I actually, I've been going back and forth with a lot of people over the years, but rarely have I laughed so much, clowning people and refuting people. But go ahead, Afemi.
I was just going to ask Andrea how you've been speaking the whole time that you've been on here.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the same way that you speak? That people?
Yes.
I'm guessing Black folks say that it sounds white.
So I grew up in Florida, so I know here, even they tell my kids that you sound, you speak proper and all that stuff. I'm like, no, it's the same, it's the same. Now what I do know is like the white people in most of the places I work, I've been the only Black person. There might be a couple, 2 or 3 more, right? So they get the full throttle of Andrea. They know that, I try to say what I have to say. I mean what I say what I mean. So they know. So I don't have a lot, like you were talking about the other day, having friends and Black friends. I don't have a lot of them. I have, there's some of us, but when we all get together, the majority of the ladies I spend time with, we all speak proper. So I don't know how they grew up or where they came from. I don't know all of where they all come from. But then some don't, and we're okay, but I don't hear it so much now as I've gotten older. Now I hear it more from white people. You're not like them. That's what they'll tell me. You're not like them. Okay. Who is them? Who are you talking about? Oh, no, I don't. You need to clarify who you're talking about. Well, you don't talk like no. Okay. I'm still not understanding who you're talking about. And they don't go any further than that because I think they know that something's coming so they'll just drop it and they'll change the subject. Right. So they don't say who the them are. I have never had one white person ever tell me who them is. You don't act like them. You don't talk like them. So, that's who I get it now from. I don't get it so much from Black people.
Okay,
I actually had this guy come in my job one time and he had this flyer. This white dude came in, he had this flyer and it says, "You're invited to such and such and such and such." Well, he said, he typed it up YOUR as opposed to YOU''RE. And I said, "Sir, if I were you, I wouldn't continue handling this out because you got a big typo in here." And he said, "Which one is that?" I said, "It's the word your." And he said, how is that wrong? I said, that word that you have on here, YOUR, is your house, your shoes, your car, your whatever. So your invited is not, you don't own the invite. So you got the wrong as you are invited. It should have been YOU''RE. He said, "Nobody said anything." I said, "This is something you should have learned in school. This is not new. It's not brand new." And he's like, "Oh, well, I guess you're right." I'm like, I'm trying to help you. So I wouldn't hand out another one because it makes you look, anyway.
I guess you're wrong. I'm sorry. I guess you're right. Go ahead, Afemi.
So did they, in those situations where they called you out about how you speak, did they say that you speak properly or did they say you sound white?
Both.
See, because I got the proper thing, but nobody ever told me that I sound white.
Mm-hmm. I got both because, like I said, my dad was in the military, so we were raised around, like I've said before, we were raised around all different types of people, predominantly white. We grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. So did my kids did too. We grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. So that's what we knew. So, they would say that, you just think and all this, you think you're cute, you think you're this, you think you're that, you think, it was a whole gamut. You name it, they were trying to throw it at us because we weren't raised, now mind you, I will say, I didn't like being in that neighborhood. I always try to find a way to get to the other side of town. I don't care how I got there. I wanted to go where my dad would threaten to move us because we would, if we fought with one another, my dad would say, "I'm going to move y'all to such and such and such." Like, yes, that's where the brothers are at, right? So I didn't have. I was on the other side of town trying to hook up with my black people. And I did that at a young age. I'm like, I ain't trying to stay in this white neighborhood. There ain't nobody over here for me. We had a neighbor that lived across the street from us. He used to tell us to go back to Africa where we came from. All kinds of dumb. We had all kinds of stuff that white folks was doing, trying to do to us. And they would come in our yard. My brothers had friends. They would come in our yard trying to call my brothers' names, and I try my best to beat the hell out of them. Well, they call me a cracker, and we can call you what we want to call you in our yard. You get your cracker ass, and I would say, get your cracker ass out of our yard. But we had to do all this stuff, and they left us alone. I mean, every now and then you had to fight one just so they know, hey, leaving black folks on the corner alone. And for the most part, they did, and we got along with that older white lady and her husband. Finally moved out, who was telling us that woman would come out 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, bang on our fence, tell us to go back to Africa where we came from. And my dad got tired of it. He said, Andrea, you and your sister come out here and whoop this woman's ass. And as soon as we ran outside, she ran back home, right? She was right across the street. So I was looking forward to that because I was ready I was ready, but she ran back home. So
what part of Florida was stuff like that happening?
That was in Tampa.
Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I know whenever I've driven by Tampa, I don't know what it is, but like driving on 75,
mm-hmm.
I would always come to it might be Tampa, it might have been
Brandon,
where I saw this big, I always see this
Confederate flag.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. I have family, some family lived out there, but yeah, I grew up there, and we, like I said, me and my sister I was in the 8th grade and she was in the 9th grade. At the end of the school year, there was this big riot that took place. We got off the bus and said, niggers go home, and all this kind of stuff. We had all kind, and her and I were the only black kids on the bus, so we had to walk home. We weren't going to get on that bus and get beat up by the white kids on the bus. We walked home. I'm like, it was crazy. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff that happened back then. And when we tell our parents, they're kind of like, that didn't happen. But the brothers at the school, them brothers were not playing. Them brothers tore some tail up that back then. They didn't. I wish.
I never saw nothing like that down in Miami. I never even saw a Confederate flag in real life until going further north in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not. We lived where my grandmother lived. I didn't see all that stuff either. But Tampa had its. I don't know why it had its share of whatever it had there, but I don't have no desire to live in Florida anymore. I'm good.
David Duke, I think he was in Palm Beach, Florida, basically. But let's hear from Turiel. How you doing, Turiel? Is that you?
Yeah, how y'all doing, man? What's going on?
Chilling, man. What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, I didn't come in here to crack no heads this time. Yeah, I just popped in to say to Sister Andrea, I was listening to what she was saying earlier when she was going in, and the sister's super well spoken, man. And I just wanted to join in here and let her know that, and she sounds like a strong black woman to me, So I don't see why I had people say I sound white before, I've had people say that. So that ain't no big deal. But, what you were saying earlier about, people need to go in their own community and work on their own community. That was really deep,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wanted to join in here and let you know that, that was some strong words, and, that was really deep. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there's like I said, I'm 61 years old, so I think I'm older than everybody for the most part that comes on the panel. And I've seen a lot of stuff, and, understand how some of this, understand how some of it works. I mean, a lot of stuff has changed, like all this technology and stuff. I think is what's causing our kids to have a lot of problems and stuff like that, because everything's at their fingertips now. And it's, kids are having problems with being able to disconnect, and, they're talking about being bullied online, and all you got to do is turn the computer off, but they don't, or your phone off, or whatever. That concept I don't understand. Like I have to explain to my grandkids and stuff, like, well, grandma, so a couple of my grandkids are, they're overweight, and, and I tell them, I said, well, are you? Oh, grandma, they call me fat. Well, are you? Yes. Okay, then what are you crying for? If you don't want to be called that, then do something about that. Don't get upset about it. I mean, it'd be one thing if somebody called you out your name and said something about you that's not true about you. But, even then, sometimes, like when people say something to me, yeah, I am all that. I am, yeah. And then some. So it's probably worse than that. So I try to take the sting away by agreeing with what they're saying, because I don't have time. I ain't going to be. I'm not going to waste my energy anymore. Back in the day, I would have gone probably back and forth. But nowadays, and you call me a hoe? Yeah, I'm the biggest hoe out there. Yep, I am. Woo, goodness gracious. Yeah, but you know what I'm gonna tell you 2 stories, right? So we had somebody come here one time. We were trying to get some carpet put down or something in our closet or something like that, or something we were doing. And the guy took too much time in our bedroom closet. And I just happened to walk in there, and he's looking at my husband's shoes, right? I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Get your ass out my damn closet. What are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry. And then he said, and then by that time my husband came home. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Asking what we did for a living. I said, what difference does it make to you? If I told you I'm a hoe, is that okay with you? Get your ass out my goddamn house. So I made him get out. Get your ass out of here. No, what difference does it make what I do for a living? It's irrelevant to what you came into my house to do. You don't need to know what I do for a living. All you need to do is give me a quote on what you came to give me a quote on. Get the hell out of here. So you guys always want to ask black folks what we do. Get your ass out my house. So I did that one time. I don't have time for all that. I said, he
was impressed by the shoes or something?
I don't know what. The dumbest thing. He didn't even know I was standing there watching him. That's how engaged he was in picking up my husband's shoes and flipping them over. I'm like, what the? You must have lost your damn mind. And then I had a coworker. This white coworker of mine, I invited her over here to the party. Party I had and everything. And she sees me at work later on. She says, Andrea, that's the best party I've ever been to. She said, and you know why? I'm like, no, nobody asked me what I did for a living. I said, because we don't give a damn. I don't care what you do for a living. You all want to size us up to see if we can fit into your group or whatever. We don't give a damn. I said, black folks don't care. We'll ask you, girl, how you doing? You got kids or whatever before we even come close to asking you what you do for a living. Yeah. It's like, it's the best party because you get tired. I said, duh. That's why we don't do that. We don't care. We don't care. Y'all care.
Yeah, and so, it's bracket.
Yeah. I said, y'all want to size us up and determine whether or not we're good enough for you. Anybody got time for all? Because 9 times out of 10, y'all ain't good enough to be in our presence, but we let you come in. So
I forget where I saw it before, but it was like said, maybe it was a meme, but it was said that when they ask you about your job, stuff like that, they're trying to calculate how much respect
this thing give you.
You know what I'm saying?
That too. That is so true. That is so true. I just always tell to get on their nerves. I just tell white folks I'm a hoe and he's my pimp, and if you see cars parked up here, that's what's going on. That's what's happening. That's what I would tell them, just to shut them up. Shut up. You don't need to know nothing. Yeah, because this is what you want to hear. So I'm gonna tell you what you want to hear. I'm a hoe. He's my pimp. Okay, so go on about yourself. I don't nowadays at the age I am now, I have no patience for that no more. I have no patience for I just don't. Don't come to me with this bull crap. I don't have time. I don't. I'm gonna tell you what you need to know and get up out my face. I don't. Yeah.
The situation you described where you're at work sitting down with a black person at lunch or whatever, and the white person comes up and asks you if this is a black thing.
Yeah,
I'd have been like, we over here plotting a revolution.
Yeah, but another time I had somebody did come. Is this a conspiracy? I said, conspiracy to do what? How are the two of us gonna take over the company? Are you kidding?
When it's a bunch of white folks, it's normal.
It's
if a few black folk, then all of a sudden it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy.
I had one thing.
Give him the evil villainous laugh too.
Go ahead, Cesar.
There was a time me and one of the brothers was standing and talk. We were like right at the break room door, and people walk by you with eyes gaped wide open. I'm like, you can come through the door. We ain't gonna. What you think we're gonna do? Come on through here. We ain't gonna bite you. I might kick you, but I ain't gonna bite you. I didn't. Stop. Y'all know what you scared for. Ain't nobody done nothing to you. What you scared for? But I can't. I want to. No, I'm just kidding.
How many times I was at work and it's like, you have a code or your door. I'm sorry, you scared me. I'm like, dang, like, shaking and stuff. Like, what?
One time I was up in New Hampshire, truck driving again or whatever, but I stopped at this little rinky-dink generic truck stop in, middle of nowhere, boondocks, New Hampshire or whatever. I'm just walking to the place, and this white guy comes out of the place and was walking. He was like looking down or looking away or something. And then finally, when we're about to pass each other, he looks up and he's like, "Well, excuse me." That's just how he went. He wasn't in my way or nothing. He's just, black person, see him or something. So I was, all right, yo.
Yeah,
I mean, we kind of been here for a while, a few hundred years, but whatever.
Yeah, it's just
when I was in England, like Brownsville, if I'm not mistaken, that's like a area in Brooklyn, right? And in England, I'll be at work, and then they tell me, where do you live? So I would say like the equivalent of Brooklyn. So then they would ask me, where about? So I say, okay, Brownsville. But just for the sake of example, and then I'd be like, where do you live? And then they tell me like Brooklyn, not the area. They asked me the area, the specific area. But when I asked them after, they will not tell me the specific area. They just tell me, like the borough, And I find it funny. It's like, some sort of monitoring. You really want to know so much, but then when it's time for you, what I'm saying, to answer the same question, you won't, be that specific. Those are just little stuff like that. It's not the end of the world, but it's just funny. It's just funny to see that. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, how many times? Sometimes they don't even say hello, but when they're in good mood, they say hello. So that you're kind of thrown off because you see them the other time, and you're like, hey, hello, and like they act like they don't see you. And but sometimes they even pour their heart out to you. They tell you personal stuff and stuff like that. But sometimes they don't even really acknowledge you and all that, And there was a guy who was like that when I was working. He would barely say hello and stuff like that. I would even message for him. People call and want to speak to him, and they say, hey, some person has to speak. And what he would do, he would just pick up the phone and go like that. He would not say thanks or no, not a single word. He would just grab the phone and call the person and let the message for him. Not even nodding, anything like that.
Hey, Shaka, have you ever you lived in America?
No. I've been to America for a little while, but I didn't leave for months.
Yeah. Okay.
And but that time, it was just me and him working. It was the weekend, Saturday morning. And then he started saying, hey, what's up? Start making him come. I'm like, yeah, you're bored. Mama and I, you're bored. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, hey, Donnie, how you doing? Okay, Donnie's on mute.
Is that D-Dub? That's Donnie Williams.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully it's not somebody pretending.
Peace. What's up, everybody? Great.
What up, D-Dub? What up?
Yeah. What's good? I'm just chiming in. I'm just here. I thought it was I like the conversation, what's going on. Y'all touching on a lot of different topics, but I'll chime in when I want to, but I'm just here to support.
On my jobs, any job that I've been on, I'm basically known as at least by white folks, I'm known as the guy that never speaks. For the simple, and it's all it is that they can never get my name right. so I don't even tell them whenever they'd ask. I don't even tell them my real name anymore, because even when they ask me and I tell them my name and then they repeat it back to me, they repeat back something totally different. And my name is 2 syllables, so it ain't hard. What I do is I just give them a simple 1-syllable name. It's not my name, but that's what I give to them. And I tell black folks on the job my real name because they can say it right. And then whenever the white folks see me and they call me by the name that I told them, I never answer. I never.
Yeah, because they'll butcher up a name.
Problems or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because the job that I left a year and a half ago, I'm not going to say the majority, about half of the company were Indian. They were Indian, and I made it a point of trying to learn their names just because I'm sure my name is just as foreign to them as their name is foreign to me, right? So I made it a point. If their name was too difficult for me to to pronounce or whatever, I asked them, what would you prefer that would be good for me to call you? Because some of their names are just kind of, was out there.
But like I said, what you see on the screen ain't my name now. That's just a YouTube handle.
No. I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm just talking about where I work. That I would do that to them. Tell me how you want me to say your name, because some of them names was out there, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of long and kind of. But they would accompany. But I try my best to call them by their proper name, because I want to be called by my proper name. That's how I was when I was working, because I think it's important to show that kind of respect to show that respect to that person, because that's what their parents name them. You wouldn't want nobody to do that to you, so then you need to learn how to speak their name. That's only being fair, right?
And I know that they're doing it on purpose. That's why I give them a fake name.
Right.
My real name is like Donnie. It's 2 syllables. Like your name Andrea. That's like 3 syllables. Even though it's kind of smooth. But it would be like Andrew is my name, and they're messing it up. I'll tell them Andrew, and they'll say something stupid back to me. So now I just give them a 1 syllable thing like Drew, and just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Clay, leave it at that.
Where are you from?
And I never acknowledge them when they say it.
Where do you live at, brother?
Well, I live in Florida, but this was like just jobs I've had all over the country.
Oh, okay.
Truck driving. White folks have always given me and I know it's on purpose, because if somebody comes to them and says that their name is Tchaikovsky, they'll get it right. They'll tell them some just ridiculously long name from Europe, and they'll get it right every time. But I come and I tell them a 2-syllable name, and they're getting it wrong. I know they're doing that on purpose. I don't even tell them my real name.
That's lucky. Andrea, did you have a lot of Singh? If you have Indians, Singh, S-I-N-G-H?
No, some Singh. Patel.
Oh,
Patel was probably the bigger one. Yeah.
Indian name.
Yeah. So, and then there was some other kind of, a lot of different names. I don't want to say other names out here, but yeah. So Singh was a little bit, but Patel was probably the most. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and they, and talking with them, they even said that they had their little outside of just classism, they had their colorisms that go on over there in their country as well.
Yeah, they have class system. It's one of the most racist nations. I mean, they're racist towards each other.
Yeah, and colorism, because unless you were
colorism,
unless you were born into one of those class systems, if you were a dark-skinned Indian, you got treated worse than a light-skinned Indian. They would tell me all kinds. I used to love to question them. I'd ask them, hey. And they like, and they would tell me all kinds of stuff. I'm like, man, y'all ain't no different than here in America. And then you want to come over here and try to tell us what to do over here? Go, you got your stuff going on over there. Fix that up, but don't come over here and criticize when you and that's what I found. They would come over here and they would think that Americans didn't want the jobs they were coming here for. I said, are you kidding me? I said,
who was that?
My Indian coworkers, because they would come over here on visas, right? They would come on visas that the company would pay for, bring them here, and all this other kind of stuff. But at the same time, they would think, and they would say out loud, I don't know why they did, but they would think that people didn't know how to do those jobs that they were coming to America for, these engineers and stuff like that. And I would have to tell them, I would say, you see that area right over there? That used to be called Telecom Corridor. And the only reason why you're here is because they don't want to pay the people that they know from that corridor the money that they know that they should be making. They bring you here because they know they can pay you cheaper salary.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why you're here. You're not here because they can't fill a job. You're here because they don't want to fill a job and pay the people the money they know that job is worth. That's the only reason why you're here. That's not true. I said, well, you go figure it out then, because my husband at the time, he had just gotten laid off his job. I said, my husband's been an engineer for, I can't count how many years. He's more qualified than you to do that job. And they won't hire him because they know they got to pay him more than they pay you to do that job. I said, so don't come to me and talk all this crap, because you ain't been in America long enough to be talking no crap like that. Right. And they would say, well, I just what they tell us. I said, I don't care what they tell you. I don't care what they tell you. I'm telling you, I've been in America all my life. You just got here. And these are people who are just coming to America on their visas, trying to tell me why they got hired. No, you got hired because they don't want to pay somebody else that same salary. I mean, or more than that, because the engineers in that area right here, it was called Telecom Corridor. We had Nortel, you had MCI WorldCom back then, you had MCI WorldCom, you had Verizon, you had all these big time telecom companies that were, that once the layoffs had, Cisco, all these big companies were here. And then they want to sit here and, no, you got here because they want to pay you less than what they pay those people who they know are qualified to do the job that they brought you in to do. So,
Yeah.
you know.
So was this like the first time you met him? You just went up to him? I mean,
No. These are people who got hired. You know, I was the office manager, the executive assistant, and I had to onboard the people. And, you know, I got to know the people. And then once they got comfortable with me, they'll come and start talking. They'll tell you all kinds of stuff. Okay. You know, no, I wouldn't engage in that kind of conversation from the beginning because I don't know them.
Yeah, because it kind of didn't sound right. That's why I wanted to ask for that clarity. Yeah.
No, these are once they got comfortable comfortable around me, and they would bring up those conversations, and I go in there with them. You're not gonna say that and get away with that. You're just not. And I would have those conversations because they knew if anybody's gonna tell them the truth, that would be me, right? Because they watch, you know, people watch how you work and see how you do what you do and how you take care of them. Because as the office manager, I had to, you know, take care of the building and make sure our employees onboard them. I did HR, I did all kinds of stuff to onboard them, make sure they were comfortable and all kinds of stuff. So and learn their name. I think that's the biggest. And they would tell me, Andrea, it's just been so nice working with you because you take the time to know who we are and learn our names and stuff like that. And that's just, we really appreciate that. So once you establish those kind of relationships, then they come back and they tell you all kinds of stuff. They'll talk to you about all kinds of stuff.
I wanted to ask you a question too. So you grew up in Florida, right?
Yep.
So they got a big Indian population there. Is that correct?
Not at the time that I grew up there. I haven't lived in Florida for almost 40 years. So it wasn't like that when I was growing up.
Okay. I know they got some reservation there, Seminoles or whatnot, but I don't think I've ever seen them. But
no, hold on. I think she's talking about Indians, you know, who come from Asia. You know, I don't think she's talking about Native Americans.
I mean, so-called indigenous native. Thank you, Shaka.
What were you talking about, Donnie? You're talking about Indians from across the water, or you're talking about Native Americans?
Yeah, so-called native, or the native.
No, I didn't see very many. We, you know, like I said, my dad was in the military, so we stayed on the military base for a few years, and then we moved to that neighborhood that we moved to. That was, predominantly white people, and there were a couple of Asians there, but for the most part, we were the first Black people to move where we moved to. So
I was trying to lead up to a question. I don't know, maybe you could still answer it or whatnot.
Go ahead.
So, you say you're fairly new to the internet and stuff like that. I'm
not new to the internet. I'm just new to this StreamYarding and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. So you heard of the Black people claiming that they're indigenous Indians and stuff like that? Have you heard that argument?
Yeah, from the Dan Calloway peoples.
Yeah, he's one of the main ones, but it's starting to spread. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know anybody that's that way now. If they want to believe that, I'm not going to step in and try to make somebody change their beliefs on that. That's a belief system that they want to believe, and that's fine. I don't care. They still, and even if they want to believe that, they're still going to be confronted as Black people. I don't care how they try to define themselves or what they think they look like. At the end of the day, if you get confronted on the street, you can't throw out "I'm Native American." They're not going to treat you any different, right? So I don't care about all that. I don't pay too. I'm going to say I don't pay too much mind to that. I listen to Dan Calloway, a couple of his YouTube thingers or whatever, and I didn't agree with it, so I just stopped. I don't keep listening to stuff I don't agree with. So
I don't agree either, for the record.
Yeah,
I just wanted to ask what you thought, because I thought Florida was a big Indian, has a big Indian population.
Yeah,
I don't know about big. They're there.
Yeah,
but I don't know about a big population of them. They do have a reservation, or I don't know if more than one reservations, but they're there. But I've never seen them.
Yeah, I've never seen them either. We would just truck our way to Miami and back to Tampa. Miami, that's where the family, all of our family, my mom's family, and a lot of my dad's family moved to Miami and back up to Tampa. So
yeah, you would probably have to go on their reservations, but I'm pretty sure they have casinos, at least, that you're aware of, right?
If they did, I wasn't aware of them.
Okay.
I
No,
wasn't.
I'm talking about now, present day.
I don't in Florida. I don't know. Like I said, I don't live there anymore, so I don't care. I don't even go. I don't. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't live there, so.
Okay, I just wanted to
I don't know about the
What's up,
casinos
Donny?
there either.
You right,
if there
Donny?
are any.
Yeah, nice to see you. Too real. What's happening?
Is that Jay?
Hey,
You back, Jay?
yeah, I come back. Sorry,
What?
your ears. I see your ears have recuperated. I thought I'd give you a break, Andrea. I think I've rubbed off on you. But Andrea, exactly, you was right. The reason because I can't get into the chat, because I'm not a member yet. I'm sorry, Shaq, I'm not a member yet. But sorry, my day of respect, respect to the panel, respect to the chat, respect Shaka. Too real, big up. Can't see your face, but big up. I heard was it you and Donny had a debate, was it?
Yeah, me and Divine. Yeah.
Divinely inspired.
Divine Inspired. That was a good debate. Yeah, well done. I like Divine Inspired. Big up Divine Inspired. You know what? I love everyone in the chat. I even like Young Harry's music. But I wanted to and I love VB and I love Shaka. You know, I love Madea. Tar's pretty. I love Tar and I love Sister Andrea and love my throw. Anyway, so there's quite a few. You know, when you was talking about them paying people less money, you hit the nail on the head, and I've experienced the same thing. That's what I was kind of hitting on. I experienced that as well, where people be coming here and telling me, because they got this in their head, what black people are like. You've got people that are from, from in London, you've got people from the Eastern Europe side of things. They were underneath the communism. They were behind the Iron Curtain. So they're coming to England, and they're getting treated exactly the same way how the Windrush generation got treated. Right? They're like the modern slaves because they're not paying the money that's supposed to that you can live on. Yeah. Andrea, you're working. I was working 7 days a week, right? And it was just getting out of control. And plus, the worst part of it is I call it the piss take, where I even trained up. I trained up an Asian brother. Yeah, I trained up an Asian guy to take away my own job. Can you imagine that?
Yeah,
Can you imagine knowing that it's gonna happen? And I trained this man. I was working for this company. I worked over 30 different sites. I knew all the vice presidents, everybody's name by first name. I was overqualified for my job. I was doing I was just doing it because my son was a young kid, paying for him to get through school, support my son. So I was doing university. So I went through university and then started working as a security, and I'm happy with what happened. But I'm just saying I'm trying to share life experiences about life in UK, and I met a lot of people like what you said. They're under the impression, and it opens up your eyes to how people perceive black people. It's not in a good light, the way that they kind of think that they know what's going on. And as you said, that these people have got more problems than they put their problems on us. We never had these problems before. It's their problems they put on us, especially the white people, like you said, that the drugs, the drug addicts, the whole drugs game, all the killing in South America and in the Caribbean, in America or whatever, is because white people like the cocaine, because they like the heroin. Okay? Yeah. It's not us. They're the biggest consumers of it all. Right? When you go into these big offices, they're all taking their these stuff, and it's our people that are feeling the brunt. But our people will get locked up for, say, if they got caught with crack cocaine,
Mm.
and if someone got caught with the same amount of powder cocaine, they wouldn't get the same time. It happens in England. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And people coming, it's mind-boggling. But to me, it's uplifting for myself. Because I know that my people, we're good. We're good people, and you know, we are kind of just running down, looking up to people that we don't really need to look up to. You know, we already have people like that. We're looking up to the wrong people.
Yeah.
When we ruled the world was a much better place. Sorry, Andrea, we love the environment, because even if you check the environment, these people don't care about the environment. You know, they'll just drill oil. All the trees in Brazil is gone. It's like a football pitch. China, why is China going to different countries looking for resources when they have such a massive place? Because they've finished all their resources.
Mm-hmm.
Africa's the number one place. In fact, Congo, unlimited amounts of water. Cobalt, if they stopped trading cobalt, this world would stop.
Mm-hmm.
They're flying planes into the Congo, taking out the resources. They've got child labor going on down there. But us in the West, or I'm in Europe, and I've worked for 20 years, and no one can tell me. And I grew up in England. You know, as a kid, I've been through the schooling, the bullying culture. I know what the white people are like, and yeah, these people haven't got a clue. They're just being used, you know, and you know, but they're still put above us. This is the problem. This is the problem I have with them, right? We have given them blood, sweat, and tears. We've given them everything. Our foreparents, our grandma, especially our blessed grandparents, right, were good people, right? They worked hard to rebuild and to stand up and be stand-up people. We made mistakes, yes, but we were infiltrated, right? But we didn't make mistakes as people are looking at our mistakes. But as you said, Andrea, they're the ones making the mistakes, and they're okay to make the mistakes, but we're not. So it just comes back down to racism. You know, and that's why I just wanted to share that with you, and I really agree with what you're saying.
You know, the interesting thing, like with one of my coworkers at the time, when Trump was voted in as president, that's when everybody, you know, a lot of white people thought it was okay for him to come out. But one of them was at a stoplight, and a white person jumped out of their car, ran around to his window, and told him to go back to your country where you came from. And it scared. And I said, I keep trying to tell y'all don't want to listen to me. I said, I keep trying to tell y'all. They look at you just like they look at me. You are an invader in this country. That's how they see you. I said, so don't come over. Yeah, don't come over here like you're shocked. They don't see you that way. They don't see you. They see you as somebody else coming and taking their job.
I'm linking you up. They have just they attacked Richie Sunak's house. Richie Sunak is an Asian prime minister. We had Boris Johnson. The same thing going on in America is here. The white people, the far right, are training to kill black people. That's what they're doing, and they're doing it from the young kids, right? You've got gangs of white people. The far right, the Nazis, they're all underground now, under different names. Richie Sunak's house has been compromised, basically. The Capitol House in America got raided by those people. It is, you know, because the problem with the white people now, they're feeling what we've been suffering all this time, injustice. You see, and they can't handle it now. You know, and the reparations need to be paid. Needs to be paid back to us.
That ain't gonna happen here in America.
I don't think so. You know, it's gonna be, we'd have to start a war, and without the unity and stuff. But as you said, when you know the so that's the breaking news. Richie Sunak. I've never heard that before. No prime minister in England. Their house has been attacked. It's been compromised. So there's breaking news for you to see where we are today, because now the white man has got an Asian man as a prime minister, and they don't want him there. You see,
with JTV. So would that be similar to like in America, how they some of the political figures, you know, they some of the protesters get in front of their house, people get beat up and violated. Is that the same thing?
Yes, there's a rise of racism. It is returned to the times of when my grandmother come to this country. You was not, they wouldn't rent you any rooms. Okay, the Jewish people, the only people that were allowing the black people to get any accommodation in England, and they were paying 4 to 6 times the rent. It's a fact. They were paying 6 times more than everybody else. My grandma used to have to cook on the landing. They were all packed in one room. Okay. After that, now my mum and dad come up. They worked, and you know, so the racism was the National Front at that time, right? This was the National Front. They used to go around, and they called it it's not a nice word to say, you know, but it's basically Indian hunting, where white gangs used to run out and attack Indian people and beat them to a pulp. The black people used to defend them, because when you see with the Caribbeans, when they came here, they fought back. Hence why we had so many riots in England. Okay, where we are at now, we're at war. We're at war. You see, it's an underground war. The guys are training to kill us, right? We're not ready, you see, in a defensive way. They are dealing with the children as well. So what I was saying about the accommodation in England, so my mother, so now he's come back round as a circle. What I'm trying to say, Donny, it's come back round as a circle. So we're back to the 1960s, 1970s in the UK. That kind of thinking, right? Remember that these rednecks that you have in America are the same, are the rednecks from England, right? These are convicted criminals that were sent to the new colony, right? And have washed up
the trash.
They're the same English. They're the same English people. The English people are the most racist people on this planet. Slaves in Jamaica were begging for the Spanish slave masters to come back to enslave them. They were that evil. The evilest people on this planet. Don't think Russia and all that. The Second World War, Hitler was laughing. The reason why he was laughing, because England had the cheek to say, do not do that to the Jews, when the Germans well knew what they'd done to the blacks. It was the worst thing ever happened in the whole history of mankind. What happened in the Atlantic slave trade, and for people to say it didn't happen, is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
our own people. That's how much we're affected. That's how much we're affected.
Some Moors deny the transatlantic slave trade.
That's how much we're affected. Can you believe it? They dropped a bomb on Japan. They decimated Dresden. Germany and Japan, 2 strongest countries, come back strong. What must happen to the black man for them to learn? What must happen, Donny? Shaka, what, and Andrew and Medea, right? Too real. What is to happen? The panel, the chat. What is to happen to the black man? Nothing's ever happened to any other person in this world. What has happened to the black man? We still don't learn.
It's the mind.
We're gonna suffer. right?
And
Because we're gonna suffer bad. Because you see what's coming. They take over Africa right now. The Chinese have taken over the ports.
Russia, China, France,
Russia
America.
been there from time. France, Shaka.
JTV.
France is a. Go ahead.
Well, not to cut you, but I just want to give my little 2 cents on that kind of.
Yeah, question. Man, go through, bro. Sorry about that.
So, you know, right. So we're talking about all this stuff. We're talking about black folks in the diaspora, right? Black people in French, Jamaica, England, where VB is at. I forget the name.
Denmark.
Norway.
Denmark.
You know, so
Denmark. Sorry.
So we're kind of divided. I mean, okay, according to everybody, we're divided. You know, and when we look at your mother country, right? It's no secret. Everybody's coming in there, taking over. We're not controlling anything. And I'm preaching to the choir, but it's almost like we lost the world battle. But I'm not giving up. But I'm just saying, you know, what I'm saying, got to keep pushing.
Yeah. We're not giving up, but we lost. We've lost because you're right, Donny. Sorry to cut you. We lost. Look at Jamaica. They've got Christopher Columbus's statue along the coast in Discovery Bay. They have names of people that murdered people, you know, murdered the Indians, right? You know, there's this. It's so deeply embedded, right? It's unbelievable, but there is no excuse. What more must happen to us? The Jewish, they teach their kids from they're born. They never forget that Holocaust, and the Holocaust was nothing compared to what we went through. That's why they done it, because it had already been done on people. It had already been perfected. The English perfected this. The Zyklon B was made in America.
But I also, excuse me, I just wanted to interject because, you know, I think that because the conversation kind of started out political, and I think that, you know, everybody's situation is different from wherever we're at on the planet. But we should have a collective goal instead of this tribalism over here, and, you know, so on and so forth. Just try to find something that we could come behind. And
the goal is survival, Donny. We're in trouble. They're trying to kill us, Donny, and we're in no position.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But just let me finish. I won't be long.
Sorry.
It's okay. And just try to get in front with that. Whatever our political agenda is, whatever we want, how do we make that happen? And, you know, and all the other stuff, I think, will kind of fall in line, things that we need to fix within our...
But Donny, we've been there. We've had our own leaders. We've murdered our own people. The best of the best. We have done it. We've killed them.
I'm not talking leaders, though. I'm just saying, you know.
No, I'm saying, like, the people that could have helped us. We don't support them. We don't support them. We're our own worst enemy. We've got to take a lot of stick for where we are. We've got to take a lot of it. We've got to kind of look at ourselves and say, you know what? It's a myth. We need to be military trained and be dealing with things like the Japanese. We need reconstruction.
But you know,
like how these people be reconstructed.
They are on their own land.
Follow the Japanese, follow the Germans.
If you try to go that route, you know, you're on foreign territory. You know what I'm saying? But I hear you, though. You know, we can train, but we have to be careful what we're saying. You know, but probably I think bridge with the motherland, you know, will be a good option.
Well, look, you said the motherland, yeah, Shaka. Right now we're in a great place. There is a war going on. Okay, the war cannot be done without Africa. They're getting all the resources from there. Why are they not closing all the barriers and saying you're not getting nothing until you pay more money or whatever?
because they usually have puppets in power. That's why.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we're our own worst enemy,
But,
you see.
well, I wouldn't say
You
that.
see?
I wouldn't say that because you see what happened in Mali and what's going on in Niger now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So things are changing. Things are
Hey,
changing.
Shaka, can I ask you a question?
Sorry,
Yeah. Feel free to River.
Yeah, let me ask you, man. Have you seen the movie They Cloned Tyrone?
No.
I haven't seen that yet.
I've seen the trailer, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It seemed like it was a comedy kind of movie.
Have they cloned me?
Like a dark comedy.
Yeah.
Has anybody on the panel seen it?
I was all right before. I think they've
saw
cloned
it,
me.
but-
This is
but,
a clone. It's not the real JTV.
Okay, well, what I took from that movie, man, what I took from it, and I see it every day, being in music and whatnot, is until we change like the culture, we'll never get out. We'll never get out of this, man.
Yeah, we can hear you, Andrea.
Yeah, I know my husband, when they were watching it this past weekend, but
Echo, Andrea.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit,
Oh,
Sandra.
Sorry.
okay. I'll wait till
Yeah,
I'm out. I
now
had
we
to
hear
get out of
you.
my
We hear
car,
you
so
now.
I'll wait till it clears up.
Yeah, but here we you now. We hear you now.
No, I was gonna say my husband watched the movie, but my husband watched the movie, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I have a hard time. I think it's a black exploitation movie. I mean, I heard it was good. My oldest son was telling us about it, so.
No, it's a really deep movie. Like, I would recommend everybody to just to watch it, even if it's not your cup of tea, because it's a really deep movie, man. And it goes to show you how like mind control we are by the culture, right? Because like the culture, it's in the music, every song, the most popular rapper right now is NBA YoungBoy, and I ain't trying to hate on him, but he's the most popular rapper in the hood right now. And he can't make a song without talking about popping somebody, and that's what everybody's into, man. And we on that vibration, like the vibration makes you feel a certain way, makes you do certain things, man.
Yeah. But I don't Chief Keef, what is it? The governor of Chicago, Chief Keef.
Yeah.
He's been kind of credited with that, not just the drill style, but going on the opposite. I mean, in Chicago, they have so much disrespectful stuff that they've been doing about dead people and all that. And but I agree that for a while
it's been about real.
Who's the hardest?
We're in trouble.
And, killing.
America's in trouble.
You see
the
what happened?
UK's in trouble.
Casanova 2X, right? And I mean that song. So Brooklyn, the dude said, "I have two bodies. What's your stats?"
Yeah.
And he reneged on the gang. Yeah, I heard he got a $150. I don't know if it's true. But I heard he got slashed in the face or something like that. But he got his sentencing, 15 years or something?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Look at Dr. York. Look at Dr. York. Look at Polite.
Malachi York. He's not a doctor. But
Malachi York. Look at this. Look at this. Look at Senator. Look what's happened to us. Look at Nepal. Look at the state of us.
That's on a so-called conscious.
Look at the state of us.
But then again,
look what they're doing to Shaka.
Shaka's
calling them out, and look at what they're doing. So Donny, tell me what we need to do, Donny. Medea, what should we do? Randria, Shaka, what should we do? Too Real, what should we do to get ourselves out? Because the way I look at it, we're in trouble. In America, they're in trouble because the white people are getting all their guns. They're all for this doomsday and all that. They're ready to, and they're not going for the Indians. They're going for the black people. In England, the same way. They're gonna come for us. Shaka's over there as well. Them white boy there, they're coming for Shaka. They're not going for no Indian. They're coming for the black man first. That's what they like.
But check this out.
That's what they like, and we're not ready.
Well, I would say we're not ready, but there's good and bad everywhere. I think we should continue to stand for what's right, and eventually, if we have enough like-minded people, then we can really make a change on the ground, within the grassroots, But yes, we are in a bad shape, but it's been worse before.
It's serious, man. It's a return. It's like, even I can say the same thing for America. They've returned back to that kind of Jim Crow mentality.
Yeah, but
I want to try to respond. I'm not the sharpest tool in the drawer here, right? And I'll admit that I have no problem with that. But so that's why I look at examples and stuff like that. Like the Chinese, what did they do? You know what I mean? They got whooped. They settled down, got themselves together, and they bouncing back. Now look at them.
There you go.
Look where they got their foot. I mean, so it's okay. A lot of people took from things that we were doing in the 60s, so on and so forth. It's okay to borrow and use their ideologies and stuff. So that's what I think we need to do. That's number one. And then number two, it's a whole bunch of stops. See, I'm a big fan of Neely Fuller's book. Neely Fuller Jr.'s book. I believe in that code.
The composite.
But I'm sorry, Shaka. Go ahead.
No, I was just about to say. I'm trying to say the title. The compensatory
we just call it the code because it's too long to say.
Yeah,
so
the code. Yeah. Go ahead, Donnie.
So I go with that, but I'm not going to hijack it like punk ass Tariq did. Excuse my French, but
we have to be on code.
You know, so and then get with the stops and start putting our differences aside and do like a political thing where we put our issues to the side, and what we want as a people is up front, and we demand that, and that's who gets our vote, so on and so forth.
Excellent, Donnie, brilliant. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. To some respect, I mean, I'm at this point in my life, anybody that's against child molestation and rape is good, But I ain't gonna cap for the Abrahamic belief system because I know what it costs to our people. But there's good and bad everywhere, and indeed, we have some people who have some influence. It is true, but they are on their way out, and we can learn from how did we get there.
Guys,
but see, Shaka, I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Sorry, you see this book here? It's important. I think everyone should read this. Sonetta, if you're watching this, you need to read this book.
He doesn't read, brother.
It's called.
He doesn't read.
Well, there you go. So we'll read it for him.
Save you some trouble.
It's called.
Frankie.
It's called Strozen. It's by Strozen. It's a book called Hate. It's about hate speech.
He listen to you if you send him money. You can call him a pedophile and send him money. He'll invite you on his panel.
But what I was gonna say, Shaka, man, is I don't think we playing when we talking about the white man, right? I don't think we playing from our position we in right now, and I'm just a youngster, man. So y'all correct me if I'm wrong, right? But from what I see, man, it's a mental game that we gotta conquer first, and then the economics will come later. Because what's the point of them giving us all reparations, right? Everybody gonna go out and buy Lamborghinis and put the money right back in their hand.
That's something else. That's something else. Let's get to
that's why I'm saying. That's why I think it's a mental game that we got to get around first.
But we need psychology. We need psychology. We need psychologists. We need the black psychologists. Andrea, we need help. We need psychological help. We're psychologically damaged.
To real. Nobody says that of any other group that's gotten their reparations, quote unquote. Nobody has said, well, they got to get their mind together first before they gave them. Nobody says that about anybody. No, why us? Why do we have to do that?
Because
they spent their money on.
Let me say this. Okay. I'm sorry.
Nobody cared about any of that. They just said, that's what Dr. Phil was saying on his show. I don't give a damn about what he has to say about who cares? Who cares how we spend our money? At the end of the day, I'm not saying we shouldn't do what's right by the money if we got reparations. What I'm saying is nobody put that same stipulation on anybody else. We always have to do an extra step in order for us to get a particular thing. When they got theirs, nobody was saying, we don't know how they're going to spend their money. When white folks was getting handouts left and right, nobody said, we don't know how they're going to spend their money. But when it comes to us, all of a sudden, it's this thing about, we're going to buy this. Okay, so it's my money. I can buy what I want to buy. It's my money.
I agree. I agree 100%, right? But what I'm saying is, like, as a whole, for the black man in America, right? We on our own over here.
Us.
We really on our own.
Trying to pacify us.
I understand that.
They're trying to pacify us and trying to work mind games.
Go ahead,
I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying we need to stop with all these caveats as to when we can get a thing, because if we keep putting those out there, trust me, they will use what you're saying and say, see, they don't deserve it because they're not going to know how to spend it. We don't need to put nothing out there like that.
It's war strategy, strategic.
But hold on, Jay. Let her finish, Jay.
warfare.
Let her finish, Jay. Let me hear what she's saying. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Miss Andrew. Go ahead.
like, friend, I'm gonna tell you a situation that happened at my job, and I'm sure I've said this once before. We during Black History Month and the last year in 2021 when I was there, another Black person came up with a bright idea for us to participate in this Black History, to say we're Black and okay, we were the only group of people that were told to do something like that. Nobody else, when their months came up, when it came up to Asian and whatever month, they didn't have to say they were Asian, and we were the only group of people that they made that suggestion to. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
They know about the and part. They know we're Black and parents and mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and engineers and doctors. They know all that. The problem they have with us is that we're Black. It has nothing to do with the and part. So when you stop appeasing people and trying to give them something extra, because then they'll push the goalpost and it'll be something else, and it'll be something else, and it'll be something else. And we have to know when enough is enough. And to me, enough is enough. We don't have to keep doing all that. We've lived in this country long enough for them to know that we are who we are, and there is nothing. We owe them nothing. We owe them nothing. We owe it to ourselves. But we don't owe it to them, and we shouldn't be putting all that stuff out there once we get our mind right on this stuff. Don't give me my money, and my mind might get right when you give me my money.
Yeah. Nah, I hear you. I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? If somebody gives me some money, you can't tell me how to spend it. I don't care what nobody say. Right?
Go.
But here's the thing. What I'm talking about is like as a whole, as a people. Like imagine if they gave us the money, right? And we all came together and said, you know what, we're gonna build our own manufacturers and spend money, with our vendors. We will be able to come up and out of this situation, I feel like.
No. We're living in a white man's world. No.
What were you gonna say?
White man's economy. We ain't got no. Listen,
go ahead, brother.
Say we're gonna sell. Say we're gonna.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, brother. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's 1:50 a.m. and it's been like nearly 4 hours. I propose. I think I'm gonna go like tomorrow, like same time.
This is a good conversation.
I'm coming back.
Yeah.
I'm coming back tomorrow. I want to finish this up.
Yeah.
Andrea.
Yeah.
We're at war, and I'm with you, sister. We're not in no pacification. Yeah, we're getting ready. Put the boots on.
Can I just say something real quick? Because I was gonna say this and get off here anyways. Because I got dinner.
Good night,
ready.
everyone.
See you tomorrow, Jay. Tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
A few years ago, not even a few, probably like back in 2010.
Stop it.
Something like that. I remember seeing this video, because it was all caught on video. At least the relevant part. There was a girl this was out of Philadelphia. There was a girl on a bus who had a baby with her, and the baby did something to upset her or whatever, and she was hitting the baby. These are all Black folks I'm talking about. There's a Black man on the bus who just told her that, hey, you shouldn't do that. It's a very young child, it's a baby, She got upset that he told her that, and she got on her cell phone and called up some dudes to meet her at the bus stop where she was getting off. And when her stop comes up, she gets off the bus. This is the part where it's on camera now, because there's cameras all around, the city and stuff. She gets off the bus and she directs the young men that there he go right there, shoot that nigga, whatever. And they start letting off shots into the bus. The bus is filled with people, kids, old people, all of that is up in there. And she's directing them to start shooting into the bus at the guy. All of them got rounded up and got put in jail and whatnot. But for me, when I saw that, I basically came to a conclusion about our state in general. where I just said to myself, genocide in, genocide out. It took genocide to get us into this state, and it's going to take something that looks a lot like genocide to get us out of it. That's how she reacted to someone just trying to correct a behavior. They were willing to kill because someone tried to correct the behavior. That's where we're at. If we wanna go straight at it like that, just straightforward with some kind of movement or anything and try to get our folks to correct behavior, they're willing to kill to keep things the same. So in my opinion, I feel like it's going to take what I call a major reset event. I would love it if we could have our own schools and we could teach folks and change things gradually that way and whatnot. But our people are very, I guess you could say, as strong as we were in trying to reject being changed into this in the first place, is how we are now. That's how resistant we are now to change again. Because it's just become tradition to be the way that we are right now. So Rwanda, I don't like how they went about it. But if you look at how Rwanda is today, all that I can think is the only thing that you can attribute that to is that major reset event that they had that just knocked everybody out of this stupor that they were in. And that's what we need, is something serious and jarring, something that just makes everyone stop like, this is something different that's going on. And you know what I mean? That's what it's going to take to me. So I'm gonna leave it at that because I got dinner to go eat. And I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll share the link here and I'll put it in the comment. I call it Problems and Solutions. It's going to be tomorrow, 4 p.m. EST, New York time, which will be 9 p.m. England time, which will be 10 p.m. Paris or France time. So I'm looking forward to have you all and everybody that wants to get on the panel. I will share the link so we can chop it up. Thank you very much for being there, brothers and sisters. So I'm going to make my usual closing remarks, and I'm going to put the outro because it was long enough. So stay safe, stay healthy if I'm allowed to. But the nature, I will definitely holler back at you. I don't argue. I state facts. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you do not think right, you will not act right. If you know better, you will do better. Do it to do an Hotep.